You have to be a dummy of a VP of marketing to say,
it's true.
Us targeting to transgender community, more men are going to want to drink beer.
Who's your pick, Ron DeSantis or Trump?
Both Trump and DeSantis are fighters. My only concern is the following. If I could run for president, I would absolutely entertain it.
They know that I go flip mode when I bust the rhymes. Man's on a different thing, man, I told him 100 times. I did a bunch of crimes, and none of them were done for the vine. So you can take that bullshit and stick that where the sun don't shine. The summer's up, it's about to get real cold. Late nights in the studio with the bros.
Nationality, what nationality are you?
We're Italian.
You're Italian?
Yeah.
Both of you?
Yeah.
Related or no?
No.
At all, just friends.
Do we look related?
How sick is it? No, you don't.
Oh,
That's why
okay,
I'm
no,
like-
I was gonna say.
But for both of you to be Italian, that's kind of like...
it works out.
There's a great restaurant in Toronto called Goodfellas. It's an
Yes,
Italian
of
restaurant.
course,
They
yeah.
got good burrata cheese with glaze.
Yeah.
And it's
That's one thing Toronto has is good food.
Yeah.
A lot of multicultural. It's
the
very
only-
multicultural.
I'd say it's the only thing we have.
Yeah,
Now,
Unfortunately. But with that being said, welcome back to the MBH podcast, Money Buys Happiness. First off, before we get into it, guys, we just hit 80K subs. Love and appreciate that, man.
Pumped.
Just a couple lads from Toronto. You guys are still showing us love, and we appreciate that. You know what to do on this video. If you're not already subscribed, subscribe, leave a comment. We're easy. We take literally any comment. Just get the algorithm.
Even the
going.
haters. You can hate.
Yeah, just
drop
keep
a
running
comment.
up.
It's for
We
the
love it.
algorithm.
We love it. Yo, who do we have here today, bro?
Guys, we're in the great state of Florida.
Yes.
With Patrick Bet David.
Yes.
An inspiration to us all. I
Yes.
just want to say thank you, first of all, because you've inspired me personally. You've inspired our team. We watch all your content all the time. I like to think of you as the American dad that we all need. You know? Do you feel that at all?
You know, a lot of people are starting to say that the last years. Kind of
Yeah.
at first, I was like, trying to see what they meant by it. But now I'm receiving it. I understand what they mean by it.
Honestly, we're pumped to have you. Thank you for your time. Thank you
Yes.
for hosting us in your space.
Yes.
It's crazy to see the space when you're watching all the content and you get here and you see it in person. Honestly,
yeah.
congratulations on all your success.
Thank you.
What was this before? If you don't
So
mind
this
me
was
asking?
a life extension where you would go to get IV or NAD or
Okay.
supplements, and then we bought this place, and I bought this place in another building a mile away from here. I was a bank. We turned the bank vault into the podcast set. I live 0.1 mile away from here.
Beautiful.
So kids go here. It's just within a 2-mile radius, we do 90% of things.
Yes.
But we turn this into a comedy club, live podcast. Anybody can come do a podcast here. We got a cigar lounge. Have you guys seen the cigar lounge yet?
No,
or
no, we'll have
You'll
to go
see it
after.
We gotta do a little
afterwards.
tour
Yes,
after.
it's-
We were actually betting that it was a Denny's.
It looked like one.
we were making bets like, what could it be? We're looking on the Google
Denny's.
Maps, and we saw Red
I can
Lobster or
see
whatever.
that.
Because you're off
But,
Biscayne, you're on a main
Yeah.
street too,
Yeah.
right? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Listen, I really like that you're well versed in many spaces,
Yeah.
many industries. You could talk about many things. So we want to get into a lot of that, right? I think where we want to start to give our audience some context on who you are and how you made it here, a little bit into your background. I know you talked a lot about your come up, but it is super impressive. It's a 1 in a billion type of situation that you put yourself in. So maybe we can start off with when you left Iran and you came to America, and we
Got
can
it.
kind of briefly summarize your past.
Perfect. Born and raised in Iran, lived there 10 years.
Okay.
Khomeini dies June 2nd of 89. We escaped 6 weeks later. We go to Germany, live in a refugee camp for a year and a half. Then we come to the States. I'm 12 years old. Glendale High School is where I went to school. Right afterwards, I joined the Army. I went to the 101st Airborne. I got out at 21 years old. I was always into numbers and bodybuilding. Those were the two things. So I was going to go be a bodybuilder. And I went to Mr. Olympia, and I kind of wanted to see what the lifestyle was like. And I said, this is definitely not what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm too tall for the sport. The right height for bodybuilding is 5'8" to 5'11".
Okay.
Anything above that is tough to kind of compete at the highest level. Then I started dating this girl, Janvier, who worked at Morgan Stanley Dean Witter. She introduced me to Morgan Stanley Dean Witter a day before 9/11. I started working with Morgan Stanley Dean Witter. Next day, Tuesday, 9/11 happens. Pretty much the worst time to get involved in a business.
Yeah.
And then a year later, I left them. I went to Transamerica. I was there for about 7.5 years. October of 2009, started my own insurance company. And we built it from 66 agents to 40,000 agents nationwide. We do business with an insurance company out of Toronto called Foresters. They're
Nice.
based out of Foresters.
Cool.
And we sold the company about a year ago. Meanwhile, I started creating content accidentally, video here, video there, and then YouTube took off. We've done well with that. And then outside of the insurance company, I'm running a media company as well. And this media company's turned into a consulting firm, product development, a bunch of different things. So that's kind of how the whole thing came about.
So would you say PHP was your first success?
No, I would say my first success was Transamerica, that I made money. Like my first million was made in Transamerica in my 20s. But I was very tight with my savings. I kept my savings very close. I was not a spender. I was extremely about increasing my cash. Eventually, if I saw an opportunity come along. And so from there, I took whatever savings I had, I put into the insurance company, and then PHP became the first one that we did very well.
But
with.
how do you decide insurance? What's the play there?
Great question, man. So when you're coming up, here's what I knew. So first thing I looked at, I said, okay, I'm a 1.8 GPA guy. I'm not the smartest guy where I know, all the magnet, all the AP, all these grades. I'm going to go to university to go get this degree. I'm going to go Pepperdine or USC or CLA. That was my route. A lot of my friends went that route. I said, I'm going to go in the military. I've always sold something. I was always a guy that sold something. High school, Germany, junior, I'm always selling something. Guys, look what I got here. You buy it. I was always that guy. And then so I learned my number one product is people. If I can learn how to sell, the next problem now is going to be, what am I going to be selling? Like these guys are selling these drinks, right?
Yes.
And they're killing it right now. They're everywhere.
Killing it.
But they first got distribution, meaning they first became famous, then they did the product. Now it's a whole different story. Whatever they touch, for the most part, is going to do well.
Gold.
Because people love them, right? That's how it kind of takes off. For me, at that time in my 20s when I'm coming up, I said, okay, I can sell supplements. There's not a rate of return in it. I can sell real estate. Every 10 years, real estate is tough on the marriage, on personal life, on savings. The market crashes. Real estate takes a massive hit. I looked at stocks because I started off as a stockbroker. If the market goes down, everybody calls you. If the market goes up, everybody calls you.
Yes.
You don't have a peaceful life to be. So I laid out one day on a piece of paper all these products I could sell. And then I investigated each one of them to see which route I wanted to go. So I met with insurance guys, what's the life like? I met with stockbroker, what's the life like? I met with bodybuilder supplements, what's the life like? I liked the guy who sold insurance, he had the best life.
Okay.
And I said, I'm going to go into this industry. I did.
Best life in what sense, though?
Man, either they had made a lot of money or the money kept coming in because it's renewals. Real estate, you have to keep selling. Insurance, every year you're renewing and you're talking to the client once a year. So it's not you pay your premium on a monthly basis. You pay your auto insurance on a monthly basis. You pay your life insurance on a monthly basis. All I have to do is be good to you, take care of you, and service you. That could pay you for the rest of your life, 10, 20, 30 years.
Yes.
So, and then I looked at wanting to sell on the back end. We ended up selling the company for a few $100 million. So the exit was also great. We owned 83% of the company. It was a cash deal. It's a very good opportunity.
Was
a
that
lot
part
of
of the
people made a
plan?
lot of money.
Was that part of the plan to have an exit?
When I was in Transamerica, the plan was to be the CEO of the company one day.
Okay.
But when I started the insurance company, all along that was part of the plan.
You
saw it
wanted
right
to sell
away.
it.
Oh, I knew the market. So I looked at the insurance industry. I would go to insurance conferences. Nobody looked like us, okay? I learned you're Italian and you're Italian. I'm 18% Italian, according to Ancestry.com. Somebody hooked up with an Italian in my family.
Our cousin.
Yeah, we may be related. But I'm Middle Eastern from Iran. We all look like we could be related,
Yes.
right? Okay. So in the insurance industry, the average agent was a 59-year-old white male.
Yep.
And 83% of agents were men, 17% were women. I started seeing everybody's talking about women empowerment, women this, girl boss, all this stuff. I said, look, Hispanic was the market that was growing in a big way. I said, I'm going to target women to sell insurance, and I'm going to target Hispanic, multicultural. We put those two together. Once we sold the company was, the average agent was a 34-year-old Hispanic female.
Yes.
Wow.
And that's unheard. If you went to our convention at MGM Grand Arena, or you go to Mirage and you see all the events that we put together, you would think you're at a rave or a nightclub. It doesn't look like an insurance company.
Okay.
So that's kind of how we targeted that audience, and it worked out for us.
When did you realize that was an old industry? Because me and Anthony always talk about it. We've talked about it for a couple of years now when we started our agency, right? We said with the rise of social media, there's going to be a lot of older industries that can be disrupted if someone comes in and starts using the online world and an online presence. I used to say things like there could be a company that's doing really well right now, has a 65-year-old owner. They're on their way out. They're happy about it. They're like, I'm not going to start doing all this online stuff. So we strongly believe that too. We believe there's a lot of older industries that there could be disruptors in. So when did you realize that? When did you say, you know what, this is an older industry. If I start using an online presence, I can eventually gain that traction and gain more business as well.
You know, I don't know if it was an older industry that I looked at. I looked at the problem.
Okay.
An industry with a problem.
Okay.
So newspaper, the problem was people are no longer buying the paper, right? So they got disrupted in a big way. You go into radio, got disrupted by podcasts. Media right now, mainstream media, the top 10 listeners in the world are not watching TV. They're watching guys like you, guys like podcasts, like a Rogan, those types. So that's a disruption, right? So if you can figure out where the problem lies within a drink, within shoes, within clothes, you know, like there's a lot of industry today that have many, many big problems. Like Musk went to an industry that's been on for a long time, cars. He disrupted cars, right? So you got to go and see where the problem lies. If you can then find a way to differentiate yourself from everybody else and be able to tell the story the right, because a lot of times people think it's most people think just a good product.
Yep.
As long as you have a good product, you're going to win. That's not true.
Yep.
It's marketing, it's storytelling. Look at what Dana White said this week at the Miami UFC. I'm sure you guys were at the fight. He says, record-breaking number, 11.9 million. The last time they were at Miami, I think it was $436,000 at the door. They went from 436 to 11.9 million, breaking Madison Square Garden's record of 11.5 million. So let's look at the problem. Here's the problem. Watch this. What was the problem? During COVID, all the commissioners of all sports were extremely tight and worried. Let's shut down the NBA. Let's shut down the NFL. You're looking at football games. No one's screaming. No one's you can't play a game like that. Let's shut down everything. This guy's like, nope. We're going to go Abu Dhabi. We're going to go over here. We're going to go over there. And you and I are getting our source of entertainment through UFC. What happens all of a sudden? They sold the company, I want to say, for $3.5 billion in 2017. We can correct these numbers. I think today it's an $11.3 billion company. WWE, I think, just sold for 9.2. It went from $3.5 billion to 11.3. So Endeavor, that bought a UFC just 6 years ago, has already more than 3x'd their money. So he's a driver of a company as well. But he looked at a problem and he turned that into the multi-billion-dollar company that it is today.
But do you think, and speaking to the UFC as well, like they've really changed the game from a content perspective. They've brought all these YouTubers. They got the Nelk Boys involved. They got these bigger guys involved where they're having them at the fights. They got them making content. Was that something that you were doing with the agency, or did that kind of come a little bit later?
So when I was building the company, this is kind of how I saw it. So what's bigger today, Tesla or Elon Musk?
Elon Musk.
Okay, so let me ask you. Elon Musk steps away from Tesla.
Brand-wise.
I get that, but what I'm asking, okay, so go day one.
Okay.
Day one when he bought Tesla, who was bigger, Elon Musk or Tesla? By a mile, it's probably Elon Musk at the time, right? But today, Tesla kind of has its own identity,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Maybe Elon is obviously a behemoth of a name because you got the jockey versus the horse.
The horse, yeah.
The jockey, the horse. Who do you bank on? This is a philosophical question, right? So take Dana White out of UFC. Does it take a hit?
It has to some extent.
Because his personality is so attached to it, the people that go to watch it.
But maybe not, though. I know where you're going.
That's kind of where I'm going. Because
I think it does take a small hit, but
100%.
nothing detrimental.
Yes.
Let me give you a number here.
Okay.
When Apple sold, and when Steve Jobs died, Apple was a $100 billion company.
Yes.
We all thought Apple is done with.
Yeah.
It's a $2.5 trillion company. 25x.
Yes.
We are so emotionally attached to the founder and the face, right? I think Dana's built it in a way today that UFC is going to live on for a long time.
Yes.
That's a respect from him of what he's built, right? So if you you look at Elon Musk and Tesla, same thing. So for me at the beginning, in the insurance industry, I was known, but nobody knew the company.
Yeah.
The average person had no clue who I was because insurance is such a small little space. Nobody knows the insurance space. So I said, okay, the bigger this brand gets, I'm going to lift this up. So today you got two brands you're building, your brand and your company's brand.
Yeah.
This, without Nelk Boys, how well does it do?
Because
not
they're in the
very
growth
well.
stage, so it's not
Actually
very well.
think about it.
Yeah.
Well,
take them out and sell this product without Nelk Boys.
I would say at the beginning, because they are still a very early company, I think it doesn't do as well. But I think that there is a time frame, and I don't know what that time frame necessarily is, but a time frame where they could step away and Happy Dad's going to do what it needs to do, no problem.
But the point here is for anybody that's listening to this, I first fall in love with you.
Yes.
Then the product.
Yes.
For sure.
I first fall in love with Elon. Then I say, man, absolutely. People didn't buy Tesla because they bought Teslas.
Yes.
They bought Tesla because they defended Elon.
Musk,
People bought Apple because they bought Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
We're different. We're rebels. We're going against IBM. We're going against everybody. I represent that. I'm young. I'm also rebellious. Let's go up against these guys, right? So there's a part of the brand that's behind it as well. Prime. You're not buying Prime because you're buying. If I asked out of 1,000 people that have drank Prime, give me the ingredients. Out of 1,000 people, how many could tell me what
There's
the,
not even one.
but I'm not buying the ingredient. I'm buying the face.
Yeah.
But the goal is eventually for somebody to come and cut a check to buy Prime, right? A Coca-Cola, Pepsi, somebody
Yes.
like that. So today you got two brands. You build this one kind of follows, and then eventually this gets, hopefully, if you build it right, bigger than you, and it has a life of its own.
So what's your advice then for somebody trying to do that in the stages of, okay, I'm trying to build the business, the company, the product, the brand of that, but I'm running alongside of it because that's a question that and I'm asking even personally because we have the agency that our goal is one
great
day to
question.
sell, and essentially we've spent the last, I'd say about 2 years, you'd say, where we've been trying to distance ourselves from the company's called Neighborhood. We've been distancing ourselves from Neighborhood Creative because the company needs to live on its own to sell.
Yeah,
But it's like that bittersweet balance where you're like, do I leave? Do I detach myself yet? Do I still need to give my full
such a
attention?
good. You got to look at it. Founders will always be emotionally attached to the company they founded.
Yeah.
It's a very different story. A founder can be 82 years old. He sold the company at 32. He is still hoping that company does well because it's your blood. You remember things that nobody remembers. The nights you worked, that you were sick as a dog and somebody died in the family. Nobody knows. You have to hold your health. You have to pick up the phone call. Those things are emotional to a founder, right? Yeah. But at the same time, to be able to differentiate that for a neighbor not to need you, it's all on leadership development.
Yeah.
It's leadership development, system, technology, partnerships, collaborations that live on their own. Like for instance, for us, so originally I'm an employee and then I become a salesperson. The moment you learn how to sell, you're forever not going to be hungry. You're always going to be able to put food on the table because you're a salesperson. But then you become a sales leader. It's very different than being a salesperson. You can be a great salesperson and you suck at leading another sales team, right? So then you learn how to be a sales leader. Then you learn how to be a business owner. But you could be a business owner and pay the bills on time and the company is growing, but you're a terrible CEO. Then you got to learn how to be a CEO, right? So as we're building this thing, I ask myself, what can I do for this thing not to need me? I hired 7 C-suites we hired within a 12-month period, $200,000 salary plus, we brought them in. And then
Sorry, C-suites?
C-suites, like CEOs, COOs, CMOs. Okay. Within a 5 month, it was 5 C-suites. Okay. Within a 12 month, it was around 7 C-suites. So all of these C-suite executives that have 10, 20 years of experience, they come in. They're smarter than you in that specific area. Compliance,
of course,
marketing, operations, whatever, finance. And then technology, we invested nearly $10 million, at this point it's $10 million, into the software called Bamboo. It used to take us 15 minutes to process one insurance policy. Bamboo, 3 seconds.
Crazy.
So that went from, if we're processing 10,000 policies a month, 1,000 policies a month, that's 15,000 minutes to now, boom, you're processing. So everything is about technology, leadership, collaboration. And then at that point, somebody's coming in and saying, yeah, you got 5 leaders here? I don't even want to talk to you. Like when we were selling the company, the buyers weren't talking to me.
Okay.
They were talking to the other guys.
Yes.
The buyers wanted to see the technology. The buyers wanted to see what else is going on. Then they come to you last because in their mind, they're prepared to know that if they buy the company, you may leave.
Yeah.
Makes sense? So that's the worst case scenario. So if this guy leaves, what do I have left here? Okay, they have technology, they have good leaders, they have 350,000 customers. Let's buy them out.
Yeah.
I have 2 questions. In terms of when you started hiring the C-suite executives, what was the time frame from hiring them and implementing that to selling the company? And second of all, when you were hiring them and kind of passing off, I guess, your duties and your responsibilities, did you still have people that you worked with that said, I still need to talk to Pat though? I still need to deal with Pat. Pat's the one that brought me in. I want to deal with Pat because, again, on a smaller scale, we kind of deal with the same thing where we bring in a client. Now we're trying to pass off responsibility, but they still want to talk to us. So it's like, oh, now 2 people are doing the work.
Whatever you edify, people will want to be. Let me explain. So the way when I was coming up, and I was a brand new insurance agent in Encino, California, off this office right off of Birmingham High School. Every time the leaders would qualify for an incentive trip, they're going to Europe. And I was a new guy, so I didn't get qualified. I looked at myself and I said, when these guys leave, I'm going to find out how legit I am on how I work when everybody's gone. You know the whole concept? When the cats are away, you know, the mice will play.
Yep.
I want to know, well, guess what? When the cats are away, I'm still a cat.
Yeah.
So you guys can go play all you want. Then I would size everybody up. I'm like, okay, you are a mice. You are a mouse. You are a mouse. You're a mouse. Cat, cat, cat. Damn, now I know who the players are. So I sold it as what you ought to take a lot of pride in is that you can make it without me. I tell this to my kids. You guys got to have a better relationship together than with your daddy because you guys are going to be in each other's life a lot longer than me. You're selling these things, these philosophies, and then your executives are going to be like, we don't need Patrick. We're going to take pride because we don't need Patrick. We can do this without him. That's pride in you doing it versus leaning.
Yeah.
Too many people develop leaders in wanting to be leaners because it gives you attention. Meaning, man, look how important I am. I like it when people lean on me. I used to do that in my 20s. I don't need the attention. I need the, you know, the leaders to be able to run a company.
Yeah.
So it's whatever you edify, people will say, wow, I never thought about it. That way you make sense.
Yeah.
I don't need you guys anymore. We can do it. We got this, guys. Something happened this weekend. We have to put out a fire. We didn't call you.
Yeah.
We got it. Let me tell you what happened. That's impressive.
Yes.
See, so everything is how you develop your leaders.
Of course.
And what's your thoughts on? I'm curious. When you're bringing these C-suite executives in, what's your thought on giving equity? Was that something you ever did?
Absolutely.
Skin
Oh,
in
let
the
me tell you, but by far for me, so I watched two companies like mine that sold. One of them sold in 91. 50% of the company left and started their own companies.
Wow.
50% of the company left. So when Sandy Weil from Citigroup bought the company, half the company left. So it's like, what the hell just happened? We just bought this company and nobody's here anymore. Half the company left. It took them 2 or 3 years to recover. Don't feel bad for them. They still turned that $100 million company into a $7 billion company.
Okay.
They're doing fine.
Yeah.
The second company, when it sold in 01, half the company left. Okay? So similar problem. Now, I have the benefit of studying history. I'm grateful to them because they set the mark. I can learn from them, right? So I looked at both of them and I said, what did they do right? And what are some areas that I can do differently? When I started the company, I put out a guideline and I said, guys, if you do X, Y, Z, because in 2007, remember when Jerry Maguire came out?
Yep.
That movie really inspired me.
Yeah.
And I made the mistake of writing a similar type of a letter to a $400 billion company. In the middle of the night, I sent this letter, 16 pages, had 9 points. That was the downfall of me in that company because they were not happy that I had ideas. Anyways, I send it in. First time around, nobody responds back. Then I send it to the company that owned them, $400 billion company. Everybody called. These are great ideas. 5 people flew in to meet me in Orange County, California, and I met with them. But that's when I realized, okay, I just kind of pissed off the wrong people. I have problems. I started seeing issues. I said, no problem. Everything I wrote in there, I implemented in my own company.
Yes.
Okay? And one of the things was, if you go above and beyond, I want you to also own a piece of this company. I don't want it to be just, I own 100% of the company, you don't.
Yeah.
So what happened? Next thing you know, XYZ guy hits it, you got 0.3%. Next one, boom, 0.8%. Boom, you own 1% of the company. You own 0.6% of the company. You own 0.8% of the company. The day the company sold, do you know how many vice presidents we lost? 0. Wow. Everybody stuck around because every one of our vice presidents owned a piece of the company. Some people don't like that because they want the check. But when I'm selling, let me tell you what I told the buyers. I said, hey, I got some news for you. What's that? So, typically your fear is probably what you're thinking about. Let's talk about it. Yeah. Because I know you may not ask me. I want to talk about it. Your fear is when we sell, these guys are going to leave and do the same thing. Yes, that is a fear. Valid fear. Let me tell you what happens. Here's our top 100 earners. Out of the top 100 earners, 70 of them have equity in the company. And out of our top 50 earners, some 98% of them or 96% of them are rolling their entire stocks. Wow. They're not selling. They're rolling. Wow. They're rolling. Everyone's rolling. Where's the fear of selling the company?
It's a no-brainer.
This much. Because they believed in that company and the vision of where we're going next. So when you give equity, they're grateful. You're also not getting them to think about becoming a competitor to you now, and they get an exit. One of our guys, I'll never forget, this guy was my boss, one of the guys I reported to at 23 years old. I was a direct competitor when I left and started a company. He's not supposed to meet with me. He was so afraid. He meets me at Rafi's place. He's dressed up with a hat and glasses and a hoodie so nobody sees him. I said, what are you afraid of? He says, I can't be seen with you, bro. I'm like, dude, we go back 10 years. He says, I know, but if they know I met with you, I said, relax. I said, look, you're going to get equity. He says, what does equity mean? I said, trust me. You're going to be glad you got equity. Anyways, the day we sold the company, a year prior to that, he had retired. When the check hit his bank account, it was a 7-figure check. This guy's never seen money like this in his life. He's made $100,000 a year. Wow. When the $1 million check hit his bank account, he's in the sauna naked calling me crying. I know this is a crazy
place to be.
picture I'm painting for you. He's calling me crying saying, Aper, what is this?
Yeah.
I said, I told you equity works. He said, I never believed this was going to happen. He's in tears. It's a great experience.
Awesome.
Obviously, it's great when my wife and I, when we got the money in, when you make $1 million, 100,000, it's cool. $1 million is really cool. 10 million is breathing room. At 10 million, you're going to breathe.
Yeah.
At a couple $100 million, now it's kind of like, hey, man, we can really play ball and maybe get to the next level, the zero here. But when your guys get checks, it's very emotional.
Yeah.
When your guys gets checks.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I gave you the promise. You were loyal to me. I salute you for your loyalty. Here's a check too. It's a very unique feeling of founder experiences with their people that went above and beyond.
Yeah. So what do you attest that to all, let's say, because you've seen it a lot, you've mentioned it, that a lot of the times when you sell a company, a lot of the executives will also sell and move on. What do you attest that to them not doing that when you sold? Was it the culture that you built? Was it the trust that they had with you? I'm very interested in that because I think you as a leader, you inspire many, right? But the people that were working under you, they must have seen something else that made them want to stay part of this company, even when you removed yourself. So what do you attest that to?
So it's your job to create an opportunity that after every time there's an event, like every time I go back and look at my life in my 20s, when I slow down.
Yeah.
Every time I slow down in my life is because my next 3 goals I accomplished.
Okay.
So for example, I remember one time I said, if I have $250,000 in a bank, I'm going to go buy a Harley Davidson. I've never ridden a motorcycle in my life. I don't know how to ride a bike.
Yeah.
So I get $250,000 in a bank. I call Jim Pager, God bless his soul. I say, hey, Jim, I'm buying a Harley. I want you to come and pick it up for me because I don't know how to ride a bike. We go, we pick up the Harley. He drives it to my office in Granada Hills. He teaches me at 11 o'clock at night how to ride the Harley. 10 minutes later, I'm on the freeway. Nice. At the time of my life. Every Saturday, I would come to the office of my Harley. But at that point, I have the Harley. I have a few different things, and my numbers slow down a little bit because I didn't have my next 3.
Comfortable.
And then I said, you know what? Every time you have a list of 3 you hit, I was 27 at the time. Every time you hit a list of 3, the longer you take to replace the 3 with 3 new things, you're going to experience a downfall with your numbers. The sooner you get it, boom, the sooner you go like this.
Yeah.
The sooner you go like this. You see it in athletes.
Yeah.
You see it in business. You see it in military. You see it in podcasts, content creation. Guys think, hey, we're going to get to 10,000 subs. Boom. We're going to get 8,000. Boom. We're going to get 100,000 subs. Boom. We're going to do 500,000 subs. Boom. We're going to get 1 million. Well, we're going to do this. And look how fast we're growing. Dude, this is a long-ass game.
Yep.
Just telling it's a long game you're playing, right? But this applies to everything. So I watched that, and I said, okay, now it's about doing it for you. So it's my job to find your next 3. So if I don't find my leader's next 3, it's my job now to spark that conversation. Hey, Johnny, congratulations on that $2 million house, man. How's the wife feel about it? Dude, she loves it. How's that country club you wanted to be a part of? $75,000 membership. Dude, it's sick. How's the Lambo look out? I said, dude, my dad, I took him for a ride. So what's your next 3? What do you mean? What's your next 3? And they go like this. Well, you know, it's... your business is going to get smaller.
Yeah.
So you got to get right there. So for our guys, I sat down with them in Monaco. It was 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay. And we had a conversation about what the 20-year vision of the company is and who they can become and what this means to them and the pride they got to take the company to the next level. And then they get to choose. This doesn't mean a person's not going to leave 6 months from now, 12 months from now. This doesn't mean someone's not going to leave, 2, 3 years from now. I'm not oblivious to think everyone's going to be around forever. Of course, there's going to be an out. But your job is to make sure you paint the picture, cast the vision of who they can be, and then figuring out a way to identify their dreams and then see what they'll do about it.
Yeah, and even speaking on that, I think you said the next 3, right? I always go back to your book, The Next 5 Moves, right? the first rule, knowing yourself. I think that's something that a lot of people, it just goes right over their head. What's the job? What's the pay? What do I have to do? 9 to 5, 5 o'clock, I'm out. Beautiful. They don't even know themselves. Why do you think so many people are missing that aspect of their life? I think it's actually getting worse as the younger generations are starting to grow up, and you're seeing the younger generations not very self-aware at all. So I've always been a big believer of knowing yourself. When it came to personal brand as well, I was like, just find out who you want to be, what you want to do, and what you want people to know you for. So why do you think that's such a hard thing for people to understand?
Happy Dad is available at a lot of your local bars and restaurants. You might even find it at some saloons. If you've enjoyed a Happy Dad, then you know it goes well with your burger, your wings, pizza, and steak. People in California eat it with their sushi, too. Go to happydad.com/find to find a bar or restaurant near you so you can watch the games with the boys.
You know, it's crazy. You're saying that. Last night we're at the house, and I got my sister over at the house, and we're having this conversation. Her husband, and all the kids are running around. And I said, you know, sometimes I feel like we're being left behind, and this. I said, listen, let me simplify something for you. I said, for me, the way I look at it is, what are you in pursuit of? Not what he's in pursuit of, not what he's in pursuit of. What are you in pursuit of, right?
Yeah.
I said, when you sit there and you're so worried about what everybody else is in pursuit of, and they're passing you up, first of all, you're going to not enjoy life. You're going to be miserable because you're constantly comparing yourself to others, constantly. So, for example, I said to her, how much you think I'm interested in going to the moon or going to space? Like Elon wants to go to space.
Yep.
She says, you never talk. I said, this is my interest. 0, okay? Yeah. How much you think I have interest in flying a plane? Like, my friends are becoming, all these billionaires are like, well, I'm becoming a helicopter pilot. I said, dude, I could care less about being a helicopter pilot. You can go fly all the helicopters you want. I don't care to become a pilot.
Yeah.
How much you think I care about being great at golf? I'm in the insurance industry. Everything's about golf. Hey, so what's your handicap? I'm like, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't golf. I don't care to golf. But I'll go out there and drive with you and have a great conversation and a cigar, but don't expect me to golf with you, okay? Yeah. I don't have any interest. The more I aged, the more I became interested only in what I'm interested in and the people I'm leading, what they're interested in.
Yes.
So it's not like, I like baseball cards. A lot of people think, why would you have a $10 million card collection? Because I like cards.
Yeah.
Why would you go do X, Y? Because I like it. This is what I'm doing here. So when you identify not only who you want to be and the life you want to live. A guy came to my house with a big talent. We're trying to bring him over to the Valuetainment deal, and we're having negotiations right now on how the structure is going to be. I said, look, we're going to turn Fort Lauderdale into the Burbank of East Coast, okay? Sick. Miami is going to be the LA of West Coast, but it's going to be Burbank of East Coast and Fort Lauderdale here. We're going to movies, shows, docs, all of it, okay? Yeah. Burbank's getting all messed up right now with the bullshit games they're playing, whether it's Disney, whether it's Hollywood, whether it's all of that stuff, right? Yep. They are oblivious right now to what they're doing. I said, here, you ain't got taxes, small airport, you're an hour away from Miami, 45 minutes away from Miami, 45 minutes away from Palm Beach. It's the right place to be. The younger you are, you go more Miami. The older you are, the more you go to Palm Beach. True. I'm 44, Fort Lauderdale's my age.
Right in the middle,
I'm at the right place, baby, right? I don't want to go to the clubs. If I want to go see guys in Miami, I'll drive up. If I want to go to Palm Beach, I'll drive up. So everything is about your vision, your life, the people you love, the cause, the challenges you've had in your life that you want to do something about it.
Yeah.
And the more you're comfortable with that and clear about it, you don't need to sell it to anybody.
Yeah. Even inside of that, inside of knowing yourself, there is knowing what you're good at as well, right? Knowing what you're good at, what you like to do and what you don't like to do. And I've always been a big believer in trying new things so you can figure that out, right? And I think that that's a big problem. I think people aren't trying things. They just see things online and they're like, oh, I wouldn't like that, or I wouldn't do that. So now going back to your past and your impressive come up, going to the military, doing the sales at Bally Fitness. These are all things where you're seeing, okay, I like doing this. I don't like doing this. Because there was a lot of times where you left the job, you left your own job and you had nothing. You were just back to square one, right? So I think that's huge as well. And maybe speak on that a bit as to how many things you were trying in your 20s and your 30s as well.
Yeah, to me, it was more compromise and values.
Okay.
When I was, my first job was Haagen-Dazs, actual job. I had to lie on my application to get the job. Elaine gave me, I was tall, so it helped me out, but I was 14 years old. 15 years old, they gave me a job in LA. You had to be 16. But I loved working there. Then I went to Burger King. Then I went to Bob's Big Boy. And I had all these jobs. And I went into military. And my plan was doing 20 years.
Yeah.
And then I get a phone call by an old friend of mine, Kogan, who says, hey, you got to get out of the Army. You can't stay in. You got to come out. You're going to do big things. I'm like, I'm re-enlisting for 6 years. I'm good, bro. He says, I'm telling you, you got to get out. Give me 1 hour. For 1 hour, he talks to me, convinces me not to re-enlist in the Army. The next morning, I have to go talk to my colonel, Lieutenant Colonel Pete Cox. I'm looking for you wherever you are because I'm grateful for you. I went and told him, I said, I'm not re-enlisting. He says, we went to Virginia to get your orders. I said, I totally get it, but I'm not re-enlisting. I got to get out. I think I'm going to make it in the civilian world. And I left, and nothing went right for me. I worked at Bally's at first, and I was going to go be a supervisor at Bally's. That was my route, but this guy named Robbie promised me a job if I would have beaten this guy named Edwin Guerra. I beat Edwin Guerra at a smaller club, but he gives the job to Edwin Guerra over me, and he comes to Chatsworth to tell me to my face, and I said, Robbie, I can't do this. You can't do that to me. I said, I'm the type of guy, you tell me what to do, I'll go do it, but you cannot change your, bogey now. You got to keep it. And he says, I can't do it. I got to keep you here. This is the club for you. I resign. I quit. Yep. Here's the embarrassing part. On paper, I shouldn't have quit because I had a good job and I was making money.
Yeah.
So I went and tried 7 different businesses. I failed. I went into debt $49,000. I'm about to join the Army.
Again.
I went back to Robbie and asked him for a job back.
Wow.
Oh.
And Robbie was nice enough to give me a job. But this freaking guy, I love him. I can tell you his number till today by heart. Robbie gave me the worst possible job you can give anybody. You know what it is? When do people buy gym memberships? At night.
Yeah.
He gave me 4 to 12 in the morning.
Oh, nice.
Who the hell is buying a gym membership 4 to 12?
Nice.
So I'm making $7.20 an hour. I go there, I'm like, Robbie, whatever you give me, I'm happy for it. I appreciate you. So he gives me that. 6 months later, I said, Robbie, I'm good now. I'm going to move on. I left. And then I built my insurance business. And then I stayed in insurance because for me I'm going to do finance for 20 years. I'm going on a 20-year run. I think too many people go on a 1-year run, 2-year run, 3-year run, 5-year run. I said, I'm going 20 years. I got 3 more 20-year runs. That was one of them. I got 2 more. If God willing, I live in my mid-80s, I got 2 more runs left in me, which means I got 1 here going till 63, and I got another one I'm going to go till 83, okay? Yeah. So 2 more runs. If you go on 20-year runs, this is when you can do something big.
You mentioned the Japanese, right?
Yeah, they're
the ones with the 20-year run, right?
They're the long-term thinkers.
But I even want to use that to bounce into, you mentioned the 3 goals, right? I want to know your thoughts on, setting huge goals, because everyone has their opinions. Don't set your goals too high. Some people say set them, set unbelievable goals. So, shoot for the moon, you land on the stars. What's your approach to it when you're trying to set your, let's say your next 3 or just goal setting in general?
Okay, what are you very good at?
That's a good question.
What's he very good at? Like, does he play sports?
He's
music?
he's very creative. He has a very creative mind. He does
Give me
a lot
a crazy thing he's good at.
Okay,
like piano.
Okay. Oh, no, I would say it's more business. I'm very good at conceptualizing our business moves. Like the agency that we birthed.
Give me something not related to business.
Completely.
I'm talking like
soccer.
Okay,
soccer.
perfect. Soccer. So let me ask you, if we play soccer, who's going to be better, me or you?
I don't know how good you are, but I'm going to say me.
Probably you.
Sure.
So who can teach who soccer moves? Can you probably help me get better?
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not that good at it. You can probably help me get better.
Yeah.
What is he very good at?
Soccer.
Non-business. Also soccer too.
Yeah.
So you guys like Baggio, what was it? Like a full on.
Baggio and Totti, bro.
So both of you soccer.
Sure.
I promise you, if we play soccer, I'm not the captain.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much money I got. It doesn't matter who I am.
Yeah.
One of you guys are the captains, and I'm following your lead.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. If we're doing fashion, if we're doing whatever, okay, if we're going to a nightclub, if I'm going to Toronto to go to nightlife, I'm not leading the way. If I say, guys, I'm coming to Toronto, I want to have a good time one weekend nightlife, where do you want to go? You're the leader. I'm following your lead. I'm not leading you, right? Here's the toughest part. Just because you lead in one area doesn't mean you can lead in all areas, okay? If Dana White wants to learn how to play piano, should he go ask Connor how to play piano?
No.
Should he go to Israel and say how to play piano? Alex, Usman, or should he go ask somebody that's like the best piano player to say, what if that kid is from Russia and is 13 years old? Age doesn't matter.
Doesn't know.
So the part in life that's very confusing to some is the following. It's very, very hard to realize you may not be a number one. Most people have a hard time with that.
Yeah.
There are a few number ones. There's not that many number ones. Now, you could be a number one at YMCA playing pickup basketball. You could be number one at a park that's public and there's 12 guys coming in. You may be number one out of the 12. But college, you ain't number one. NBA, no one even knows your name. So so the number one concept is levels as well.
Yes.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Each time you level up and you compete at the next level, you're at the bottom of the next level.
True.
We forget this concept, right? So, for example, like right now, we're sitting here talking, hey, Pat, how's it feel having a couple $100 million, all this other stuff? Okay, if I go and have dinner with 20 billionaires, who am I? I'm having dinner the other day with guys at Goldman Sachs. One guy's got $2 billion in his portfolio. This guy's got $6 billion in his portfolio. And I'm like sitting like this. How are you guys? What do you want to drink? Like, well, I'm going to buy this restaurant. I believe you, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, there's levels everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, there's levels everywhere when you look at it. But who's going to be a good number one? You may be a good number two. You may be a good number three. You may be a good four, good five. If you're a good five, you try to be a one, you're going to screw things up.
True.
You're going to screw things up. So from that position, you may also say, but Pat, eventually I want to be number one. Well, that may be in 7 years. You're just not right now.
Yeah.
That may be in 12 years. Not right now. Fighting that urge of having to be number one today will make you be number one of a very small group. Being patient of what crew you can be a number one of in 12 years, the crew in 12 years is going to be like this.
Yeah.
So this is the part about being a little bit humble and understanding.
Well,
Currently in the room I'm in, I'm number 4 in this room, and I'm okay with it.
Well, I was going to mention that even leveling up, you're number one, now you're leveling up and you're at the bottom again. To me, that's ego, right? You have to drop your ego when you have that level up, right? So at what point did you have to drop your ego when you really said, you know what, I can't have an ego? Was it the Bally Fitness moment when you had to go back to him and be humble and say, I need this job?
Oh my God.
Probably multiple
was
moments.
it
right?
Oh
Yeah.
my God. Like,
Yeah.
are you kidding me? So many levels I have to do this
At
with.
dinner. At dinner the other day. Yeah.
So many.
Yeah.
Was
You
there
know,
any that stick out to you like a lot?
I mean, selling a company,
Yeah.
AIG, like I remember one time, and by the way, sometimes it flips, meaning sometimes you're right and they made the mistake and they'll come apologizing, and sometimes you're wrong. You make the mistake and then you got to go apologizing, right? I remember one time I'm coming up and I'm thinking like, let me tell you, do you realize how many policies we're selling? What do you mean you're not going to give me this contract? I need a 10% raise. I'm talking to this one insurance carrier. And all of a sudden, I got off the call all proud. I'm like, watch what's going to happen. I'm 31 years old. They call me back. I'm like, okay, you know what? You're right. We've decided not to give you the raise, but we're dropping your contract in 30 days.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, what do you mean? Well, you may be right. You're really as good as you think you are. We're just not willing to take that risk, and you cannot sell our insurance policies 30 days from now.
wow.
Let me tell you. I'm laughing now. I tell you, I wasn't laughing
Yeah,
then.
that's for sure.
Because I come home and I'm sitting there, I'm like, we just lost this contract. What the hell am I going to say to my guys? Because this was the last guy I had that we were selling their policies. So I come in, I'm like, listen, we just lost North American. Well, what happened? Anyways, a bunch of stuff happened, but we're losing a contract. What do you got to do now? Now I go to AIG. So fly to Houston. And these guys don't want to give me a contract because AIG is going through a bunch of problems at that time. This is 2011, 2010. So they don't want to give me a contract, and I desperately need contract, but they also need business. I said, before you say no to me, let me go in a room, put all your lawyers and compliance people and marketing people there, ask me any question you want. Any question you want, I'll answer it. I fly to Houston. I'm sitting in this boardroom. 20 people are sitting around me, lawyers. They're all sitting like this. This is how they sit. When you go to a nice Ivy League school, this is the style of sitting, just so you guys know. Public sits like this. You can always figure out how people sit.
100%.
Anyway, so I'm in this place and they ask me all these questions. 3 hours later, we got lucky. They gave us a contract. Do you realize if AIG doesn't give me that contract that day, I'm working for somebody.
You're done, yeah.
I'm not kidding with you
Yeah,
guys.
yeah.
I'm working for somebody. So, in that moment of me realizing how I screwed up North American, I said, pump your brakes, pump your brakes. You have to realize you have different customers. One of your customers is the actual client that's buying from you. I buy this, I'm a customer. The other customer is your executives that are working for you. They're a customer. Don't look at them as an employee. Okay. Look at your executives that work for you as a customer. Then it's the employees who are working for you. They're your customer. Then it's the vendor that's actually manufacturing this. That's a customer. Then it's technology partners that you have that are doing, that's a customer. So the moment I stop looking at them that they need me, I looked at them that they're my customer. My relationship went up with them, and I was able to get more out of the relationship. Versus, do you realize who I am? Do you realize this, that? Yeah, that's not going to get you too far.
That's a very different approach. Not many people see it. Like everyone that you're servicing, or even people that are technically servicing your business, you're treating them as customers. Wow. That's a very different way. I haven't really seen anyone do that. But I want to ask you a question a little bit off that topic. Were you obviously today with the pod, Valuetainment, you're very outspoken. You put your beliefs out there. You don't really seem like the guy that really worries too much, about like, oh, if I'm gonna get this sponsorship, whatever. Have you always been like that, even in your other businesses?
No,
have you always been the outspoken guy?
I can't claim to have been always that. So here's the part. I've always was like that till 31.
Okay.
And then I said, okay, you got to pump the brakes. And I'll give you a story. So I'm coming up, I'm loud, I'm rowdy, I'm getting up there, whatever I want is I'm just saying it, all this stuff, and I'm kind of getting away with it for the most part. I'm respecting people, but I'm telling you how I believe things. I'm born in Iran, all this stuff. And so eventually, I'm 31 years old. We start the insurance company. I'm doing a radio show in LA. And Glenn Beck at the time was a big name. That was on Fox, and he had all this stuff, but he was hated at the time.
Yeah.
So as much as Tucker Carlson may be hated, Glenn Beck was hated 10 times more at the time.
Okay.
Absolutely hated. So anyways, one day we have a meeting, and Glenn ends up, we do a sponsorship with him, and he does this video to say things about us on this radio show called KRLA. And I'm deciding to announce this, and everybody's like, I'm about to make a big announcement. Meet us at the Burbank Hilton or Sheraton. It's like 600 people at this place. I get up, I'm like, let me tell you guys what just happened. We got the biggest guy sponsoring us since 2010, to be exact. We started the company in 2009, and I played a 30-second clip of Glenn Beck, and I'm on Fox News. And you see 60% of the crowd is screaming, 30% of the crowd is like neutral, 10% of the crowd is walking out.
Wow.
So I'm like, wait a minute, I thought everybody was going to be excited. What happened here? This is the part about being oblivious. When you're a little bit younger, you're like just going and you're raw. So my interest, instead of going to the guys that were excited or the guys that were neutral, I want to talk to the guys that are walking out. So meeting ends, I go right to them. This whole family from San Francisco. They said, Patrick, we love you. We followed you for 6 years, but you must not know a lot of politics because our office is in San Francisco. And the moment they see this online, we're not going to be able to get any business. We're leaving you. We love you, but we're leaving you, and we're going to have to shut down the office and change it to another company. In that moment, they made that decision.
Right there, eh?
Right there.
Wow.
So I'm in the car by myself, and it's easy to only listen to the people that are saying, wow, that's sick, that's awesome, because that's kind of how you want to be soft and kind of make yourself feel good. But all I'm thinking about is the other guys. So I stepped out and I said, okay, what kind of a company you want to build? Do you want to build a company for everybody, or do you want to have a vision and a cause and a crusade behind it? I stepped back and I said, okay, we have to figure this part out. We made an adjustment. We went a different direction. It was more neutral at the time. And I said, I'm going to come back to this, but I don't yet have a few money.
Yeah.
And I need to have some real money because I need to have that money so I can get louder later on because they're going to bully you. Okay? You know what ends up happening? We come back 5 years later. 5 years later, we put an event together, and it's all like nonstop capitalism, 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 capitalism. And then we had an event that President Bush came to. The late Kobe Bryant was there. Jordan Peterson came there. And then gradually the guests I started bringing, everybody started saying, oh my God, Pastunas. And around 2017, I kept telling Mario, don't let me do any episodes on politics. Don't let me talk politics. I would do a video and I'm like, so today we're going to talk about it. Mario say, hey, Pat, you're talking politics. That's not politics. That's politics. You told me to tell you. We can't do this episode. Scratch it. We got to do something else. Anyways, long story short, I held myself for as long as possible to see if this is a real mission that I have or if it's just something that's coming for a season and it's going to leave. You know how sometimes you're like, you listen to a song and then 2 weeks later you're over it. You're like, I listened to it 200 times. I don't care about the song anymore. I kept realizing I want to listen to the song. And not only do I want to listen to the song, I want to listen to all the songs by all the artists and within this genre. And then I said, I'm sorry, this is a cause. If you don't like it, too bad. I'm rolling. And then at that point, let her rip.
The reason, and listen, it's very respectable. And the reason I say that is because this podcast really was born out of not giving a fuck, to be honest.
During
and
COVID.
During COVID, and again, we're from Canada, very strict. You know, we won't go down that road necessarily, but I'm sure you know about Canada, how they handled that.
In a big way, yeah.
Still handling it that
Well,
way.
it's still going through it, and you know, so that was what this show was birthed out of, essentially. And you know, we had to make a decision because we also had the agency. You know, 17 employees. You know, not huge, but people rely on us.
Yeah.
And
Well, we have family, friends, like all those things too that are affected when you go out and you speak. Speak your
everything,
truth.
everything, business, exactly, family, friends, you're ruining relationships. So we had to make that decision pretty early. But we're also in a different position because we didn't wait for the FU money necessarily. So we're
I guess
still
we're stupid, maybe.
we're still in this
No, but
constant
I'll-
battle.
yeah.
We're still in
Yeah.
this constant battle of we want to put episodes out on certain things that are happening politically,
There's a difference, though.
and
Okay.
so we're always
And I'll tell you what's the difference.
yeah, and that's kind of where I'm going with it because we've missed out on sponsorship opportunities.
Yep.
We missed out on different, you know, having different guests, you know, athletes, NHL players, whatever, NBA players that can't come on our show because of things that we've said. And so we're always like, fuck, should we have said that? But then we always find ourselves going back to, but no, that's who we are. That's our beliefs, and that's the way
That
we're going to
choice.
roll, right?
That choice that you even said, right? Are we going to be a brand with our own cause, or are we going to try and please everyone? But I don't even think you could do that anymore. I don't think you
Well,
can please everyone anymore.
If
So I'm
I can
curious
give
your
you,
thoughts on
if
it.
I can give you my perspective, and then you guys can process it any way you want. So when I did it, I didn't have anybody backing me up. And what I mean by backing me up is in the insurance industry, you would think they're conservative. The insurance industry is filled with liberals.
Wow.
I
I'm
didn't
on
know that.
stage talking about capitalism. These guys are hating my message because what I'm saying. You would think they're capitalists,
Yeah, it's
but they're not.
interesting.
I went to dinner one time in Iowa, and I'm talking to this guy. Back in the days, there was a company called ING. I don't know if you guys remember ING or not.
Yeah,
The
ING.
Orange Line.
Yeah,
you know
yeah, with the
ING. Okay,
lion. Yeah.
So I'm sitting, I'm talking openly. Like, hey, you know, America's the greatest country, this, that, and capitalism and freedom of choice and Second Amendment. We're having this conversation. We're at Cheesecake Factory. And all of a sudden the guy's like, well, yeah, I don't know. America's not as clean as you think it is. Do you know what America's done? Do you know what America this? Do you know what America that? Do you know? I'm like, what other places have you lived in? So next thing you know, there is bumping kids with a C-suite executive from that company.
Okay.
If you're watching, you know who you are. So, and I'm not holding back because America changed my life. That's the one story I've never compromised,
Yeah.
right? And then I said, well, you know, this is that. Well, long story short, we never did business with ING. That kind of fell out. It wasn't going to happen. So then I realized these guys all talk to each other because insurance spaces all talk to each other. And if you don't have a lot of contracts to sell insurance, you're screwed. You're out, okay? So I took a position to kind of sit back and watch everybody and then go roll and play ball. Once I realized you can't please everybody at the time, I'm in a small space. I'm like, no, this is what I stand for. I'm just learning how to communicate it better. There's a difference.
Okay.
Because there's 20 different ways to tell somebody we're breaking up. Okay? You can tell somebody you're a piece of shit. You know what? The hell with you. We're done.
Yep.
That's a form of saying breaking up. What's another form of saying we're breaking up? Honestly, I was talking to my mom yesterday, and I think you're too good for me. I don't think I'm at your level.
Wow.
And I can't be the man you want me to be. And I love you. This is going to hurt me more than it's going to hurt you because there's hundreds of men that would love to be with you. There's probably not that many women that would love to marry a guy like me. I have to let you go. We're breaking up.
Yeah.
But one, we're breaking up with you hating me. The other one is like, what?
What's happening?
This is the best breakup of my life. I love this guy. You know, we can't break up. No one's ever broken up with me like this. So I learned that I had to change the way I delivered my message.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's as much in messaging and delivery
Yeah.
as it is in anything else. Then the other part I'll tell you is I've interviewed a lot of mobsters and a lot of gangsters over the years. And somehow we've been able to spend time with each other and they're comfortable with me when we talk. And when you talk to families in New York, the other day we were having dinner at a local Italian restaurant here, and Mayor Giuliani was with me.
Yep.
And we go to this restaurant, and the owner of the restaurant shows up, and he says, you know, you're my hero. Mayor Giuliani, you are my hero. 65-year-old owner of the restaurant.
Wow.
He says, when I was coming up in New York and I was a kid, we were all scared. You cleaned the streets. I lost so many relatives. And he has the chills all over his body talking to Giuliani. I'm like watching this happen and taking place. But in New York, just like the guy that owns a liquor store, people would come and bully him, and he would say, hey, I just want to let you know, you want me to call Sammy? And they would say, what? No,
Yeah.
you don't need to call Sammy. Yeah. No, Louis, we're good.
Yeah.
Oh, we're good? Okay, we're good. You want to leave? Oh, no, please tell me you're not going to call Sammy. This is your Sammy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Full send is a form of a Sammy nowadays.
Yeah.
You team up with a media company, it's a form of a Sammy. When Tate and I were having a conversation together, and in the interview, one of the things I said is, it's very hard to earn saint status in any space. Very hard.
Yeah.
But when you earn saint status, it's mathematically, let me rephrase it. The chances of you getting canceled, it's 0.0001%. It's very small.
Okay.
What do we mean by this? Joe Rogan is saint status.
Yep.
They tried to cancel him. They couldn't do it. Why not, though? Who has Joe's back? Think about who has Joe's back.
Yeah.
Actually, let's say it. Who has Joe's back?
Spotify.
Who else had Joe's back?
A lot of people.
Give me the
speaking
names.
their
Who had
minds.
Joe's back?
You were probably one of them.
Okay,
Dana
but give me
White.
big
Jordan-
names.
Jordan
Dana
Peterson.
White,
Jordan Peterson.
Jordan Peterson,
Yep.
UFC,
Russell Brand.
yeah.
Russell Brand.
Yeah.
Who else?
Yeah.
So many
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
had his back.
Yeah, political figures.
That the opposition was like, oh shit, we can't cancel this guy.
True.
Because he's earned saint status.
Yeah.
When you haven't earned saint status yet, you have to understand that part.
Yeah.
If you act like you've earned saint status, so for example, Tate, who has Tate's back? That's a powerful figure.
Yeah. I mean, his whole cult.
No, but that's not, but that's not.
You're
Like
saying like a
powerful.
real power.
Who has his back?
No one, really.
No one.
Yeah, no one.
Who has his back?
No one.
Hundreds of millions of people, if not billions, have his back. But what's their level of influence to have their back?
Nothing. True.
Joe had UFC. Now watch what Logan is doing, WWE.
Yep.
So there's a part of it where Triple H and those guys could have his back, right? If you look at every one of these guys that make it to the highest level, you have to position yourself in a way to have saint status. You first start off with protection. You got protection right now from who? These guys. How big are they right now? Massive. They're everywhere,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That is a form of protection, okay? And eventually, you got to become a flag carrier for them, where you're getting loud and here's who we are, here's what they're doing. You're showing a lot of gratitude to them for what they're doing for you, the opportunity they've given you. And then eventually, the market falls in love. Some heavyweight people fall in love with you. Then you're not
Can't be
cancelable
stopped.
because
Yeah.
you have saint status. So, you know, strategy of a guy like Tate, you know, as much as the world is enamored by him, he's got to kind of look politically.
Yeah.
If Trump was president, you think they would have bailed out Tate quicker? Probably.
Oh,
you
no,
think
hardly.
Biden's going to bail out Biden couldn't bail out Griner in Russia, let alone bailing out a Tate. He doesn't care about Tate's message. Tate's message is not his message.
Yeah.
So these are the things that you have to be. Some of it happens accident. I'm sure Joe Rogan didn't do it intentionally. Joe Rogan, I'm gonna go get.
Yeah,
That's not
yeah.
how Joe's. We had dinner a couple
very
nights
genuine,
ago.
yeah.
He's the most chillest. He's the guy you want as a friend, as a brother, as an uncle, as a cousin, as a guy to be in business with. That's that guy, right?
Yeah.
But you have to think about long term. Who are those guys that are going to be in your corner as you get bigger?
So saint status. Now I'm going to talk about Jordan Peterson.
Sure.
Because he's under attack by the Psychologist Board of Ontario in Canada.
Yep.
I'm sure you've heard of that. Is that because he doesn't have saint status? Is that because he doesn't have? He has big names backing him up. Like people will come out. You'll interview him. You'll talk about him. So why do you think he's in that position as well? Is it a Canadian thing maybe?
Listen, who's trying to cancel him?
Canada.
Who cares?
Yeah,
True.
it's true.
There's
30
certain
million
things-
people. Man.
But it's not even Canada. It's the psychology of whatever. They want him to come out and take some educational
Training
courses
course on
to learn.
social media.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's crazy.
And there's certain things in life that you're like, who wants to cancel me? Totally fine with that.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
okay with
true.
that. So, no, there is certain the bigger you get, you cannot expect to have everybody like you, because then you have to act and you have to be fake. That's a very hard thing to do. And the audience is not gonna. The audience can for sure tell when you're fake or you're acting.
Yep.
I told Joe, I said, Joe, everybody that I bring on the podcast that's never been on your podcast, first thing they ask me when the interview is done with, hey man, can you tell, can you put in a good word in to me and to Joe and just I'm like, bro, I said, Joe, I never bring it up to you.
Yeah.
I don't bring it up to you. And I tell him, I said, listen, you want to be on Joe's podcast? DM him. If he
Yeah.
likes it, he'll do that. And then Joe said, look, I only interview people I want to interview. Guys will come in and they'll say, through bookers, they'll say, hey, if you ever want to interview this guy, interview these 3 people, hoping to one day get to this guy. Fine. You want to play that card? No problem. We'll give you $100,000 if you have this person on your podcast to interview because we'll get these out. No, you can tell Joe's audience.
Yeah.
Because Joe interviews who he wants to interview.
Yeah.
That's why you love Joe.
Yeah.
So the brand cannot be watered down. And this is why you guys are growing the way you're growing. When you send me a message, I just looked you up. I'm like, what a freaking cool guy.
Thanks, man.
You feel the genuineness. You feel like you're funny. You're likable. You're a homie. You're chill. It's very obvious you guys are going to blow up. I mean, you're growing right now, but this is nowhere near where you're going to be. You guys going to have a multi-million subscriber channel. You guys going to do big things the way you're going. The only person that can screw it up is you guys can screw it up.
No,
you
for
guys
sure.
got to stay on the same page. You got to keep working. You got to stay aligned. You got to work. You got to keep recreating yourself. You got to keep it. If you do that, you guys going to blow up because you give that vibe off, and people can tell.
I want to ask you a question even further to that, because then we're mentioning sponsors, this, all that type of stuff. Do you think, and because we watch your show religiously, we see all the sponsors you work with, buy gold, do this, da. Do you think that there is going to be, or there already is maybe, an influx of businesses that are saying, hey, you know what, this sort of, let's say more, I won't even say right wing or right leaning, I'll just say more open, free speech type of content is actually kind of the new wave? Like, do you think businesses are starting to say, hey, you know what, we should get behind these guys? What's your thought on that?
Okay, so you guys are following this whole Dylan Mulvaney story with Budlight, so you've seen the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
check this out.
Okay.
So Dylan Mulvaney, Budlight sponsors. Okay, I watched the interview of the VP of marketing for Budlight.
saw that as
You
well.
saw that,
Yep.
okay.
Yes.
And she starts off by saying, I'm a businesswoman. Here's what I'm looking at. Here's what I have to do. And we looked at the Bud Light brand. It was kind of dying off. It was more like the fratty, this, that. I'm like, okay, first of all, here's what I pulled up just a minute ago before we came in. What is the profile of a beer drinker? Let's actually do that.
Yeah.
What is the profile of a beer drinker? So we went up and we looked it up. 80% of beer drinkers are what? Men.
Men.
Of course.
You can't force a woman to drink beer if they don't want to.
Yeah.
Women like wine. Women like what is the dessert wine?
like
Rosé,
the-
or
yeah,
rosé.
women like, okay. And by the way, that's stupid. That's not me telling you. That's stats. When you look at the stats, you're not gonna. If you and I right now had a rosé, it'd be kind of weird, right? Like, hey, you want to have some rosé, Pat? I would say, you're serious, bro. Maybe you said, hey, you want to have a full send beer? You want to have this? It'd be a little bit more. Yeah, let's have a drink together, have a conversation. So the profile of a beer drinker, 4 out of 5 is male. Okay, it's not the LGBTQ community. And then you have to look at the transgender community, and they'll say, well, there's about 1.5 million transgenders in America that identify as a transgender. No, there's not. The number is so much smaller because beer drinkers can't be 13 years old, Gen Z.
True.
Yeah.
Beer drinkers have to be what? Above 21. You have to be a dummy of a VP of marketing to say,
It's true.
us targeting to transgender community, more men are going to want to drink beer. So then you go into saying, well, then it's the ESG score. So we went online and we looked at the ESG score of Budweiser, Anheuser-Busch, and you notice they have one of the lowest ESG scores in America out of all the companies. So she's trying to increase the ESG score. But this is the part about, if you ever read the book Blue Ocean Strategy, in Blue Ocean Strategy, it's a phenomenal book. Everybody that's in business should read it. They don't talk about conforming. You try to get into a market that other people are not in, like Yellowtail used to compete with other wine drinkers, and then they realize their wine sucks compared to any wine company. So Yellowtail went from targeting wine drinkers to Yellowtail went to target beer drinkers. They took off. They went from selling a few 100,000 cases per year to 40 million cases per year because their target of audience was beer drinkers, okay? So you're paying $2 for beer, you can pay $6 now, whatever. That was kind of the way they approach it. It's absolutely insane what some of these guys are doing. So now, going back to your question about, do you think conservative? I think that's kind of what you're asking the question.
Yeah.
Here's what I will tell you, which is awesome, which is absolutely awesome. This whole thing about feminists defending transgenders. You're a moron is what you are. Do you realize how dumb of an argument that is?
Yep.
Let me get this straight. Feminism was to protect women.
Yep.
So I'm a man, I decide to think I'm a woman, and I go beat other women in MMA fights or in swimming. You're turning me into a hero? Guess what? Your argument's about to fall apart right in front of you by your own people.
Yeah.
So the whole concept of what's going on right now with ideas, bad ideas eventually get exposed. There's an actress, her name is what's this girl's name? Her name is Sarah Foster. I don't know if you guys know who Sarah Foster is.
Yeah.
She comes out and she says the following. She says, I am a Democrat, okay? But she says San Francisco is turning into a shithole, and it's all because of the Democratic policies. This is a woman that's on Vanity Fair saying this. Disgusting, my heart breaks for the family. I'm a registered Democrat and feel confident saying liberal politicians are ruining cities. So what does this mean? Good ideas eventually get exposed. Good talent eventually get exposed. Ron Paul said one of the best things. He said, when eventually I became so passionate about politics, when I was a doctor, I went to this one guy and I said, listen, I can't stop reading this material. I'm obsessed with this content. What do I do? He said, keep talking about it. The world tends to know how to use people with the right messages and make them big. You keep talking about it, the right person's going to find you, right? Sure. Good policies get exposed. Good talent get exposed. Bad policies also get exposed. And that's exactly what's happening today, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are paying the price for bad policies today.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned the feminist movement and how it's kind of like hypocritical what they're doing right now. We had a conversation with both our sisters yesterday because they both work with us at our marketing agency as well. And we're just like, you need to be upset about this.
Yeah.
I said, I'm upset and he's upset. I said, but you guys need to be upset about this because there's so much we can fight about it, right? And again, what's a man going to say to a feminist, right? But if women start standing up and saying something, now that could be something, right? What are your thoughts on that?
I think they are, but I think what's happening right now, so there's three different camps.
Yeah.
There's a camps that the feminists, to them, the idea was, you know what? That is right. You and I are equal. I am just as good as you. I should get paid just as much as you do. I should do this, and I should do that, and I should do this. And the idea seems a noble idea. And then all of a sudden you look at it and you're like, yeah, this is kind of not working, that camp. And I meant to get at the vault at Diplomat 8 months ago. And I gave a questionnaire to everybody that night. And I said, the next day I want you to come and share with us the biggest breakthrough you had. One of these girls, she's a Persian girl, late 30s, very attractive. She's kind of raising her hand like this, her sister sitting next to her. But I haven't seen her yet, but I know she's going like this. She's not going like this. There's a big difference, right? Yeah. Like you're hoping, don't call mommy, right? So eventually, after 10 questions, she goes like this. Now she really wants to say it. So I call on her. I said, what's the breakthrough you had? She said, my biggest breakthrough is I've been competing with men for the last 30 years, and I've been beating them. I make a lot of money. I do very well for myself. All my people make money. I'm beating my cousins. I'm beating all these guys. But I'm 39 years old, and all I thought about last night, all night, is I want a husband. I no longer want to compete with men. Wow. I want to marry one, and I want to have a family. This is the beautiful part about you and I have had many bad ideas before. Mm-hmm. You know what's a great thing about parents sometimes? They'll see their kid that has a bad idea, and rather than getting in the way, they'll say what? Go ahead and see how it does.
Yeah,
and then you go do it and you come back and say, Dad, that was a shitty idea. I'm glad you learned.
Yeah.
And then next one. And you just hope some of the ideas are not the bad ones that, you just want to make sure some of the bad ideas they go and test. The feminists that bought into that now they're older, more and more of them are saying to people, I'm 62 years old. I was a feminist. Now I'm single. I've never been married. I don't have any kids. I am so lonely. I hate the fact that I bought into the feminist argument. I wish I would have got married. I wish I would have had kids. And I realized man is not my enemy. It's so emotional when you see this because there's nothing worse than seeing somebody that wasted their lives. Yeah. And the pain when you see them, you're like, I feel for you, man, on what you're going through.
It's the worst thing.
Yeah. Then there's the other one where it's kind of like, look, I want you to respect me as well. I'm not a feminist. I love men. I want to get married, but I just want to get some respect as well. And maybe I want to build a business. I want to do this. Cool. Go do your thing as well. And then there's those that are sitting around saying, look, I honestly don't know what's going on. I'm just kind of like watching on the sidelines. And now they're starting to realize this shit just doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. I'm a Democrat. I voted for this, but I don't know about this stuff now. It's starting to get a little bit too much. Over the next few years, they're going to get louder and louder and louder. The problem that it could be a real problem is these people have gotten a hold of our kids. I'll give you one stat and then we'll go to the next question. Here's the craziest stat. So in universities, for every one conservative professor, you know how many are liberal? 12.
12. Yeah, I seen you talk about it. Yep.
12 to 1. That's a monopoly.
Yep.
If that was a business and a company, for every one coffee being sold, and McDonald's sold. If Starbucks sold 12, they're getting shut down because it's a monopoly, and they have to be split apart.
Yeah.
Universities have a monopoly. Now let me go to schools and high schools, K through 12. They went and monitored teachers based on which political party they gave money to and they donated to. Wait till you see these stats here. English teachers, 97 gave to the Democratic Party, only 3 to the Republican Party. Health teachers, 99 to 1. Math and science, 87 to 13. Math and science, you have to learn how to reason.
Yeah, you got to think of it.
87 to 13. We're sending our kids to schools
Yes.
where these people are shaping their minds, and our kids are spending more time with teachers than they are with us.
Yeah.
You think parents spend more time with kids than their teachers? They don't.
No.
Parents see their kids in the morning for 30 minutes when you're dropping them off.
Yeah.
At night when they get home after sports or whatever. You only got them for a couple hours. These guys are getting them for 8 hours. So this is, there is, the whole reason why we're doing what we're doing with the media company. Like, I'm at the fight, all these guys, we're having all these conversations with people, and like, hey, let me tell you, hey, you did this, and we did this, and I decided to do this, and let me tell you, my kid is doing this, and my kid is doing that. And I'm watching to see what people are saying. Nothing excites me more when I see a guy that says, I've been following Valuetainment since I was 16 years old. I'm now 24 years old. I made $600,000 last year, and let me tell you, my dad this, and my... Those excite me, because that means long-term, there's a community of us that people are watching, and we are more important than you think.
Yeah.
You think it's just about sponsorship and all this other stuff, but they're more sitting there saying, man, I just like these guys, and they think that way. Why don't I think this way? And in a year, 5, 10, 20 years, the only way we can fight against what's going on in our educational system is to have a different venue of getting to them, and this is one of the formats. But eventually, we have to also win in schools. If we don't win in schools, this problem's going to keep reappearing for the next 100 years.
Well, that's why I think a lot of people are moving to private school, are moving to homeschooling, stuff like that. And I think that even bounces out further to a point that I've been trying to make probably the last 3-4 years is, and this kind of ties into the women, the feminist thing, is that like stay-at-home moms, wives are not appreciated enough in a societal setting. Women are only getting, praise when it's like, hey, I want to be a boss lady. I want to have this job. I CEO of Google, this, that. And I'm like, you guys are missing what I feel, at least in my opinion, is the most important role a woman can play, which is a good homemaker, a good mother, because men we don't have it in us. It's just not in our DNA. And that's how you shape a family. That's how you shape the children coming up. So I even think from a man's perspective is that we need to what we can do at least is start respecting, the stay-at-home moms, or start respecting the women that want that at least. I'm not saying that every woman should have to do that, but we got to start showing love to them, because they're the ones that are going to shape everything. They're the ones raising and birthing these children, and there's not enough respect for them.
Well, I think there's an attack also on like the traditional family structure. They don't want that. They don't want a father, a mother, 2, 3 kids. They don't like that, because there's strength in that. There's tradition in that, right? There's numbers in that. So if they can divide that, I think, and even with schools, I feel like I've said this before, but I feel like it went from your parents raising a child, like our parents raised us, they taught us traditions, values, and how to behave ourselves, to now teachers are now raising children. Like you said, when you see your kid for an hour at dinner or after for some sports or stuff like that. So I think that's a problem. And I wanted to ask you, how are you now as a father, knowing that this stuff is going on and having young children? How are you protecting them from this? How are you navigating this?
By openly talking about all of it.
Wow.
Every single thing about it.
Wow.
By going online with my 9-year-old and my 11-year-old son when they were 8 and 10 and reading the history of AIDS and going back and seeing why AIDS was an epidemic in the 80s and how it started.
Yeah.
What caused it? Was it really monkeys, or where did AIDS come from? Let's read it. Let's research it. Oh, wow. Okay. So based on this study, AIDS came from here. Okay. This is not a good idea, guys, just so you know.
Wow.
And then going and looking at, hey, when somebody wants to talk to you about having secrets, there's only a few people in your life that can have secrets with you until you're 18 years old.
Yeah.
And that's your brothers, your sisters, your mom and dad. You can't have secrets openly with people. Like, you got to teach your kids what the whole concept of secrets is. I showed them a video the other day. This is a video of a guy named Jack Reynolds. I don't know if you've seen this or not. Okay. Incredible video.
Okay.
It's a video of a child molester who did 12 years in jail, and he got out. And he agreed to be interviewed by a woman on how he was able to get kids that he could take advantage of.
Like his strategy.
You have to watch
What?
this
Jack
interview.
Reynolds?
Let me tell you,
Write that
Jack Reynolds. I'll give it to you
Okay.
afterwards.
Yeah.
Jack, it's a 2-minute video. And the way he looks, he's looking like this. And by the way, full blown, I can't believe this lady got this video. The guy's dead today. But this was an interview that he did in the 90s, and he went to jail in the 80s for 12 years. He says, first thing I target coming into the family, and I'll say, listen, if you at all need me to babysit your kids, I'm here to help out. If you need me to do anything. Wow. And he says, parents who don't care and they're not involved, that's my easiest target. He says, who do you not target? He says, if there's a very strong father figure in the family and he's very involved, I don't target them. He says, what else do you not target? If the family's got a strong sense of spiritual and they go to church or God, I don't target them because I have to be careful with them. What do you typically target? I ask them around with their friends to learn more about how their friends are. And if they're kind of kids that they don't talk and I see they can keep secrets, that's also a target of mine. He gives the entire playbook. Wow.
That's
okay?
crazy.
I watch this with my kids. I said, so what do you think about this? Dad, there's people like that out there. Unfortunately, there is. Yeah. And you have to stay strong and you have to have each other's back and you can't fall for it. Yeah. If somebody wants to offer you a gift or candy or ice cream or a video game or money or any of this stuff, don't worry about that stuff. We're going to be all right. So, and then we have dialogue. Yeah. So explain to me this. So tell me about this. Tell me about that. So for me, it's the conversation we have. I remember one time the kids were younger. My wife gets uncomfortable and she ran out. I said, okay, guys, let's have a conversation together. What's that? We get out of the shower. I said, okay, you ready? Yes. I said, this is my dangling. That's yours. That's yours. Your dangling, only you can touch. Your dangling, only you can touch. One day, a woman that you like will touch it. Till then, it's yours to play with. God gave it to you. This is mine. That's yours. That's yours. And you see them, they freeze because it's like an uncomfortable conversation. My wife just runs out. She's like, oh, shoot. So I said, does this make sense to you? And then you see their conversation, like the follow-up conversations they're asking. And I said, don't worry about it. I was also 6 years old at one point. I was also 8 years old. It's uncomfortable, but you're going to go through it. The other day, one of my kids was going through the puberty class. And, hey, Dad, do you want me to go to this puberty class and teach it? Now, I know who was teaching it because the dean is a very good friend of ours. So I'm like, you're going to be fine. I know who this guy is. He's a Christian guy. It's going to be solid with the values and principles, but they're going to go through this. It's going to be normal. You're a man. I went through it. We're all going to go through it. So the more open you are with this, I was studying this is a crazy statistic, guys, about Indian parents. Okay. Did you know Indian immigrants, like from India, Indian immigrants and Indian ethnicity in America, they're the highest earners in America. They make $120 per year. Okay, I didn't know that. White Americans was $65,000 a year. Oh, shit. Indian Americans, $120. They got a $25,000 lead on second place. Second place was $95,000 a year. So we start going into this data because I visited Mumbai and I was speaking at IIT and I had a great experience. I'm like, why are Indian parents doing so well? U.S. population only accounts for 1% of the U.S. population, but 8% of CEOs of startup Silicon Valley companies, okay? Yeah. 1% population, 8%. When they go get degrees, their parents encourage them to go through STEM, is what they target. 72%, 71% is all STEM. Science, it's all, they're targeting those industries. And then we went on this website called indiaparenting.com. And you look at indiaparenting.com on what's different about having Indian parents. And you notice, number 9 was they're judgmental. Indian parents are judgmental. How is that a good thing? American parents would be like, oh, it's okay. He's just like that. Some people are different. Indian parents would be like, you cannot, Yeah. It's like, oh my God. And they put the fear in you.
Yeah, fear of God.
So one of the points was they edify the behavior they want. And the other one is they judge the behavior that they don't want their kids to take on. In America, it's like, no, you can't. This bullshit.
That
You better
like
get
Italian
involved.
Parents, eh?
Well,
That
I mean,
sounds like
Middle
my
Eastern,
parents.
Italian, Indian, but some of these qualities are good. But I think, as a parent today, you got to be involved. You got to be willing to talk openly with your guys, because if you don't, other people will.
Yeah. And in terms of, I want to touch quickly because we speak about this a lot, and our audience always loves when we talk about relationships. Obviously, a lot of our audience is young men, entrepreneurs, building businesses, trying to build their way up the corporate ladder, whatever. And we always have the debate or the conversation of having a woman during your come up, good or bad. So I want your opinion and even your story, your wife, when did you meet, at what point, how'd you guys grow together? What did that look like? And then what are your thoughts on that?
So I'm going to give you all my contradictions.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you all of them, and it gives me a lot of contradictions. So brace for impact for anybody that's listening to this. Since I was 6 years old, my teacher in Iran asked me, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" I said, "I want to be a dad one day," because I wanted to be like my dad. I love my dad. We have a great relationship. I wanted to have that kind of a relationship with my kids.
Yep.
So I'm 23. I'm ready to get married. In my mind, I'm ready to get married. I'm dating this girl. We're having the conversations about marriage. Her family knows, my family knows. They're all ready for us to get married. Last minute doesn't work out. Big falling out. And then I stepped back and I said, well, if your daughter came home today with a guy like you, would you let her marry him, who's you? I'm like, probably not right now. He needs to figure it out a little bit more. So I sat there and I said, okay, then you got to figure it out. Then selfishly, do you want to settle? What do you mean, do you want to settle? Do you want to settle, or would you like to widen your options of who you want to be with? I want to widen my options. Perfect. Then increase your market value. If you want to settle, there's not a positive word about settling.
No.
We settle down. That's an insult to the other person you're marrying.
True.
I settled down with Mary, and she settled down with me. Oh, what a beautiful relationship. You guys are settlers.
Yeah.
Good for you, right?
Yeah.
No, I want options. Okay, great. Then increase your market value. So then I increased my market value. Then I had options. And it got to a point where I read this book called 101 Questions to Ask Before You Get Engaged. It was written by this guy named Norman Wright. Literally, the whole book is 101 questions. There's nothing in the book.
Just questions?
Each page is a question, and you write your answers down. So I bought the book, and I'm like, this is insane. Some of the questions I never thought about. And I write my answer down, And I'm like, okay, great. I'm talking to 4 girls at the time. Each one of those girls, we go out. And each one of them, I hand them the book. And I said, answer the question, let's go through it. And we went through, I'm like, there's no way I can marry this girl. It's not going to work out. There's no way I can marry this girl. It's just not going to work out. And it's talking about kids, religion, how you're going to raise your kids, financial, how many days can you handle me being away on the road? What time do you want me to be home? Everything you need to be thinking about, ask the question. Eventually, my wife and I, we had known each other for 5.5 years. She was in different relationships. I was in different relationships. I was always pushing guys to marry her. So I always said, you got to go marry this girl. She's a wife. But I was never single. Eventually, I'm single. She's single. First time ever in 5.5 years, we're single at the same time. I ask her, I'm at an event at JW Marriott Palm Springs. At the time, I'm doing very well in Transamerica. And she comes and she says, hey, do you mind if I spend the next 3 days around your guys? Because I want to learn from you guys what you're doing. No problem. So we go out, and then eventually the conversations are like, hey, who are you dating today? Who are you seeing? So I'm not dating anybody. Really? I'm also single. Boom. What are you looking for in a man? Anyways, eventually, long story short, I drive her home. And we go on our first date, December 29th of 2007. We go to church in the morning. Then we did the stairs in Santa Monica. Then we went to Earth Cafe, and then I took her to Borders when there was a Borders. And I bought her the book on our second date. Second date, not the first date. And 101 questions to, before you get engaged on our second date.
Wow.
And she's like, wow. I said, look, either this is going to turn you off or it's not.
Yeah.
I said, if I want to go have sex with somebody, I got plenty of options right now.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for that. I actually want to settle down and have a family. Okay, it's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Even I said it right now, settle down and have a family. Look how that word has been settled with all of us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I want my options. So anyways, long story short, she goes and reads it. A week after that, we're at her place. 6 hours later, we're listening to John Mayer, and we're listening to, not Cisco, but what's the band? It wasn't Cisco, the whole band, Drew Hill is what we're listening to. We go through the questionnaire. I'm like, there's a high likelihood I'm going to marry this girl. A year and a half later, we get married. We've now been married for almost 14 years. June 26th, which our 4th baby was born on our anniversary, it'll be 14 years. At our wedding, I told everybody, I said, I don't know how long we're going to be married, but I know we're going to be married for at least 1 year. Marriage is very hard. Here's why it's very hard. You're changing as you're growing. She's changing. Sometimes in marriage, you outgrow the other person and the other person's left behind.
True.
So if you don't have those conversations to say, listen, man, here's where I'm going. I kind of need your help as well to come up. It doesn't mean work as hard as me. That's not the conversation. Elevating your thinking, improving yourself, constantly working on each other. If I let myself go and I'm 350 pounds and she takes care of herself, she's growing, I'm not. There is a form of, hey, how come you don't take care of your body? When you turn off the lights, I look good. But when I turn on the lights, you don't look good. Why don't you take care of yourself? So these are the things that you have to be thinking about, right? Hey, I take care of myself when I put it together. I take care of myself when it comes down to finances, experiences, all this other stuff. So that's the constant concept. And then, you know, but the point with marriage, a lot of times men are afraid of what if I marry the wrong person, all this other stuff. We're having a cigar the other day with this guy when we did the live podcast. He's 35 years old, makes millions, but he doesn't want to get married. He says, it's too risky getting married today. I said, it's too risky getting married today. I said, man, it's too risky staying single today. What are you talking about? I said, what's the purpose of life? I said, how long do you think you're going to live? Like, what do you think life is all about? Pulling up to a restaurant in a Rolls Royce? For what? Who cares? Those people that say, what a nice car, don't give a shit about you.
True.
What do you think is the whole concept of life? Everything about life is investing in things that outlive you. Man wants to live forever, but we're not going to. The only way you're going to get a glimpse of living forever is by what you build. You build a family, you have kids, you raise them properly, they continue your last name, you write a book, you make music, you make movies, you make something that outlives you. The life of a man staying single, I can't see one single positive argument for staying single today. Yeah. By the way, even if you get married and 7 years later you get a divorce versus a man who's never been married before and he stayed single the entire life, I respect the guy that got married and got a divorce more than the guy that stayed single. Because you're afraid of risk.
Damn.
You're afraid of risk.
Wow. Damn.
Yep.
No.
Well, I was going to say, your parents got divorced, right?
2 times in 20 years, each other.
Wow. And that never affected your thinking of like...
When I was young, but by the way, I think it's the best thing they did, getting a divorce.
For themselves.
I'm glad they got it.
because they're happier.
I'm not anti-divorce.
Yeah.
I want to make it very clear. Okay. I am not anti-divorce.
Yeah.
There are many marriages that you need to get a divorce. It's not good.
Sure.
You know, you're becoming bad for your kids. You know, we're tough guys. I don't know if your parents stayed together or not, but they're both your parents.
Divorced.
You're divorced as well. All 3 of us divorced. It's not an easy thing.
Yeah.
Marriage is very, very hard, you know, and so everyone has, and by the way, your parents got a divorce. You think you know the reason, but you may not even know the reason.
True.
You and I think we know the reason.
True.
Trust me, I'm learning certain things about their marriage today that I'm 44 and I'm barely learning about it. And I don't even know the whole story. But I'm starting to now say, freaking A, now it makes sense 38 years ago. That's who that was.
Yeah.
Wow. That's some crazy.
Yeah.
But it's not your business. It's their business.
Yeah.
And you got to salute them and give them their best.
And I like that because at the end of the day, out of divorce came you,
Yeah.
right? No matter what. And now
Yeah.
you have kids. You built what you're built. You're still building all these things. So regardless of
It's
divorce,
better
or
if you
not-
can keep it together.
Of course.
It's better if you can stay together forever. Trust me. Like the odds favor that. But, you know, a marriage is very, very hard. Jennifer and I always openly talk. Like when we had our big exit and I sat her down, I said, babe, what's the most money you've seen in our bank account? Have you seen $100,000? Yeah, of course, since day one. It's okay. Have you seen $1 million? Yes. Have you seen 10 million? Yes. Babe, where are you going with this? But you've never seen a couple $100 million. I said, there's a difference.
Yeah.
And she says, yes. I said, you're the biggest target you've ever been. So am I. We got a target now.
Yeah.
And I'm a loud person. So not only financially we're a target, but I also have opinions.
Yeah.
So our kids, when they go to the next level of school in high school, you think all the teachers are going to like their daddy?
Fuck.
Yeah.
No, they're not going to. But that's okay. We chose to live this life. I love America way too much for me to compromise it and sit on the sidelines. I'm going to fight. And that's who you married. But you and I cannot be naive. You can't be naive thinking everybody's out there because they want the best for us. You have to be very sharp. Not saying being overly paranoid, but you have to be very sharp. The other night when we had dinner with Joe, our wives are there, okay? And it's 7, 8 of us. I understand the difference between a relationship and then if I'm meeting your wife, you're meeting my wife. I'm a paranoid guy, very. He's a paranoid guy, very. I understand what levels of respect you have to, especially a person that is at his level or where you're at. There's certain things, to trust somebody takes so much longer. You can have an act. Hey, what's up, dog? How you doing? Blah, 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 blah. And then it's like, okay, let's break bread at the house. And then it's like a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And then all of a sudden it'll be like, cut. Why? I saw something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something I was said. I'm good, bro. All the best. But you will never say it to the other person. But that was the end of that relationship, right? So, you know, but you cannot be naive and oblivious about it. You have to openly talk about it, hoping the challenges we face the last 13 and a half years are going to be very different than the challenges we face the next 13 and a half years. You have to be aware of that.
But you were 30 when you got married?
I was 30 when I got married.
30.
So I got like what, 3 months?
yeah, you're coming close. No, I have a very long-term girlfriend, coming 7 years in a couple days, and I'm on the road a lot. We're on the road a lot and whatever, and so there's been all these conversations. But I agree with you, and this is the debate we always have, even just over a drink, over whatever.
He wants to stay single. You want to get married?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why though?
I guess just some bad experiences, and I'm just like, I'll relax for now.
And
I'll
that's
wait it out.
And
I'll wait it out.
And I see your point, and I'm even, I don't know financially if I'm in the position, but I'm even eager to have kids because I already want to start building that foundation.
It's the greatest thing.
And building, and that's the thing. Everybody that I've spoken to has said is the best thing that they've ever done, could have ever done. So I see that side of it.
But
and
not reckless having a kid.
No, of course.
I'm not
of
talking about let me
course.
just go have a kid just to
No,
have a kid. That's
no.
not what
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
talking. But you
100%.
know, like I posted a picture the other day of me at 21.
Oh, I love that. That pic
You
was
know?
hilarious. Just
And-
jacked.
yeah,
with the hair,
yeah,
with the
and I
flow.
got my red bandana and the dollar. I'm like,
We're gonna pull it up right
yeah,
now too.
because some people
You
are
already
like,
know.
wow, to a 3-piece suit and a business guy and all this stuff. I'm like, you did not know me at 21 years old when I was at Dublin's getting kicked out of the club and the stuff that I was doing. So, no, I think, one of the best things that happens to man is women betrays you, a friend betrays you, you lose all your money, you get publicly humiliated, you take a beating, you take a loss. Man, it sucks.
Yeah.
But like Israel, who just won the fight against Alex.
Yeah.
I watched a clip of him a day before, and he's sitting there saying, I'm going to beat this guy. This is emotional to me. I've never trained this hard. I swear to God, you have to watch this video. He starts crying. Israel starts crying. This is a day before the fight. And you're watching him, tears coming down his eyes. He's sitting like this. If you see this kid, just going like this and crying. And you see how somebody's crying like this?
Yeah.
Dude, to cry like that, you went to a very dark place.
Yeah. True.
And then after he won, he said, I have to thank you because I got comfortable. And you made me go back to a place to realize what I was capable of. Man, if Alex doesn't humiliate him the way he beat him, we don't see this side of Israel.
True.
When he won, the place was
Electric.
bonkers.
Electric,
I've never
yeah.
experienced something like this. And I've been to a lot of great sporting events. Sometimes in life, that can help you become a better husband, a better father, a better man, a better friend by going through it. It's not the end. It's just the phase that you went through. But bank on stuff in life that are long-term, man. Like my dad told me when I was young, you want to have so many different friends. He says, man, you're better off having one best friend that you can 100% trust and you don't have any other friends than having 1,000 good friends, but you can't trust any one of them 100%.
It's true.
Life is about certain things that bankable relationships, bankable friendships, career that you're having fun and you're building, and those things are the real valuable things. I'm 44 right now. I feel good. I've had a very good life, but to me at this age, what I valued at 34 is very different what I valued at 24 than what I value today. And I wonder what I'm going to value at 54. Okay. The only thing is that sometimes when I hear this message, I had a guy I talked to the other day in Hawaii. He's one of the guys we consult for with David Consulting, and he does $35 million a year. And he opens it up to conversation like this. Hey, Pat, we did $35 million last year. We have a 20% EBITDA, which means we netted $7 million. Life is pretty good. But one of the local guys in business just passed this up, and he's doing $50 million a year. And a lot of my people are going and working with him, and a lot of my customers are going with him. And, I'm trying to still grow my market. He's just kind of talking to me like this. I said, does it bother you that he passed you up and he's doing 50 and you're doing 35? He said, no, it doesn't bother me anymore. I said, did it bother you 10 years ago? He says, oh my God, it would be very bad. I said, maybe it's time for you to step down because it has to bother you if you're a competitor in the marketplace, or else you'll be put out of business.
Yeah.
The CEO at the top, you have to have a competitive edge. If a football coach is 70 years old and he says something like, it's not about winning, it's just about enjoying the game in the locker room. What the hell are you talking about?
yeah.
It's time for us to replace. So even though you're winning and it is the stuff that you're investing in long term, you can't lose the edge, the competitive factor either.
You mentioned that too in your book where you had these tough moments that you can still tap into and feel the exact same fire, which is crazy to hear because I do the same thing. I know that we do the same thing where it's like we have those moments where we look back and we're like, damn, But if you think about it today, you still feel that pain. You still feel that fire.
Yeah, and that's a place you can go to.
Yes.
Like when you're about to give a speech, what do you think about in your mind?
Yeah.
You know, when you're about to go out there and go through a tough time in your life, what do you tell yourself? If you're going through a tough time, you got to remind yourself of the seasons you had of greatness. If you're going through a great time in your life, you got to remind yourself of how you screwed up. Sometimes when we're going through great times, we tell ourselves how great we are, and then we fall. Yeah. When you're going through great times, you got to say, hey, man, relax, bro. All this shit can be taken away from you. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
You're not there. There's plenty of people that are in the marketplace competing. So you stay humble. You start learning. You keep staying learning.
Yeah.
And then when you're losing, you're like, oh my God, maybe I suck. They're right. I am bad. No, you're not. You're just having a bad season. Chill out. You're gonna be all right. Yeah. So it's those times on which you tell yourself to balance both the good and the bad times.
Yeah.
Because they're coming.
It's true. Yeah. If PBD was 18 or 19 years old today, what would you be doing in terms of business, entrepreneurship, based on the opportunities you see today?
If I was 18 years old, I was by far probably the biggest prankster in my entire family. I've done some pranks in the Army that when they tell the stories, they were so inappropriate, but they were so freaking funny. It's just hilarious. I probably would line myself up with some kind of talent. I would probably have a trajectory of some of these guys that start vlogs and comedy and fun, and I'd probably end up being a comedian type of guy because I love numbers a lot. That's my thing. I love math. I love numbers. I love math analysis. I love trigonometry. It's weird. I love everything about numbers. Counting the cameras, counting the chairs for the no reason I'm counting chairs. What are you counting chairs for? You're not winning for this, right? I love everything about numbers, but I love people way more than I love numbers. So for me, it would be something to do with the people space. And I would line myself up. You know, if you look at, if I wanted to go into Hollywood, the whole thing about Hollywood is if you watch Jon Favreau and Vince Vaughn, how many movies have they done together? If you watch Bradley Cooper and Jennifer Lawrence, they did, was it not Serendipity? Which was the movie that they did? Was it that one? And then they did, they've done a few different movies together. They did that one singing movie with, anyways, there's a bunch of these things that they do together. I would be in a team of making movies, a team of making, you know, comedy, a team of like, I would join that team and then I would become a player in that team. That's what I would be doing at 18. I wouldn't be solo. I would immediately want to find the crew to be a part of, and I'm going to be part of that crew. Because that's the fastest way to accelerate winning.
Yeah.
True.
You know, you try to be the solo guy by yourself. You could do it when you're made, but it's tough to do it when you're coming up.
Yeah.
Yes.
At the beginning, you got to find a crew and go tag along that crew. That's what I would be doing at 18.
You even mentioned about the 20-year slots that you have in life, right? So what's this next 20 years look like now?
Next 20 years is going to be war, man. It's going to be great because they're trying to really mess with people and they're bullying people that can't fight for themselves. I've never liked that. I like to, you know, fight for the guys that are being bullied and stand up for them and, you know, go out there and say, hey, you're all right, man. We're going to be together. Come on down. Let's go run together. We're good. Hey, we're on the same page. Let's go. Let's roll. I like that. I like bringing gangs together and us fighting a bigger battle together. And I think the next 20 years, we got our work cut out for us. You know, to compete in the marketplace, you have to have a voice. You have to do podcasts. You have to make movies. You have to write. You have to produce docs. You have to bring a crew of talent together that you guys have all bought into the vision together. Everyone's got to collaborate and feed each other and help each other grow. But the next 20 years is going to be war, man. It's going to be awesome.
You're going to kill it.
Valuetainment.
Excited about it. We're gonna be doing our part. That's for sure.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to kill us for us to stop. We're gonna do our part. I just really think, you know, every once in a while, you get a feeling that you're being asked to step up and go above and beyond, even after everything was given to you. Like everything you prayed about, now you got it. Now what? Yeah. So imagine all those years when you're at the bottom, you're like, God, if you do, please, I will forever do this, that. And he gave it to you, and you're like, all right, peace out. You know what I mean? Boom.
You can't do that.
No, you can't do that. So now it's like, okay, kid, you wanted that?
Yeah.
I gave you all that and then some. Now roll. Let's go, because we need you to fight.
Do you feel like you have that responsibility?
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I mean, 100. I mean, it's 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
But do you ever feel like you could lose it all doing what you're doing?
I don't think about that because, you know, to me, like, you know, the bigger your vision is, I don't think you can do it alone without God. I think you have to believe in a God. That's my opinion. Some people may debate it, argue it. It is what it is. But to me, I've lived a very weird life. The stuff in Iran, that was not a normal life, to see bombing and all this stuff. So it little messes with you a little bit, right? Refugee camp when you're getting judged and all this stuff. And that toughens you up and you learn how to get along with people from Czech or Afghani or Albanian or Yugoslavian at the time, because it's 89. That was a great exercise, right? You go in the military and you're from Iran and people ask you where you're from, and very quickly, I'm from Iran, so what are you doing in America? Why are you in the military? Why would they let you be in the military? You got to figure out a way how to maneuver through it. So either you can be a victim and say, oh my God, they call me a this. Or you can play the game back at them and say, you know what, Jones? Between you and I, you want to know why I'm here? Why? You won't tell anybody? No. I'm a spy, bro. I'm a spy because I'm here to learn everything you got and take it back to Iran. But David, you're a spy? Of course I'm a spy. Of course I'm a spy. And then they're freaking out, telling me, I'm laughing my ass. I'm like, I'm a spy, bro. What are you doing? So you got to learn how to come out of those situations in a different way. But yeah, risking lose it all. I don't know. If you come up in the way my dad always said, have money nobody knows about. Okay? You always got to have money nobody knows about. That includes your wife, your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your kids. No one knows about that money. You always got to have the money aside, right?
I like that. I've never heard that before.
When you come up, the first thing you do, if you read Kennedy's family, what their traditions was, and Bush's, they followed similar guidelines. One of the guidelines was come up, make your money, set aside your kids and your wife, make sure they're scored away, your retirement scored away, then go play ball, and then eventually give to public service. Public service could be through charity, politics, church, clerk, many different ways, right? Okay. So the money that they're going to be taken care of, that's been set aside. Everything else I'm playing with right now, I'm going to be fine.
Yeah.
I'm going to be fine because capitalism favors those who outwork, out-improve, out-strategize, outlast, and we're going to be okay with those.
So then speaking to that, I have two questions about that. One, why we can answer this first, money no one knows about. There's this big thing on the internet. No one wants to, no one can understand. Is the net worth on Google accurate? Not accurate?
They're saying 160 to 200 mil right now. They're throwing a range.
How far off are we?
I think if you today count the cash, the stocks, the equity, the company, all the portfolio combined, we have to do. You're going to see an announcement I'm going to make in a week. Okay. And everyone's going to lose their mind when that announcement is made. They're going to say, "Wait, what?" It should be in a week, latest 3 weeks. Okay. But the announcement should be made. You know what announcement I'm talking about. It's going to be made in the next week to 3 weeks.
Okay.
Probably the number we had to report to these guys on the balance sheet was 326, 320, 326, 327 is what the number was.
Okay, so Google's a little bit off.
By the way, on Google, I'm 5'7".
Okay,
No,
that was literally the next.
I'm not 5'7".
We were yesterday. We're on fucking Google.
There's some theories behind that too, eh? There's some theories.
We're seeing pics of you and Rogan, and then you and Tate, and we're like, dude, there's no way. How? Why?
Someone was like, oh, they're trying to make him seem shorter because he's an alpha and he's out there and he's being a strong man, and they want to demeanor him.
By the way, on Google, it said I'm 5'7", 165 pounds, and I'm an American actor. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, take it. I'll take it for what it is.
I'll take it.
But then you said something else. You said put money away and then move into kind of public service, whatever. Do you ever? That leads me to the question. I think a lot of people want to know this. Do you ever think you'll get into politics? You'll run for office at some level?
If I could run for president, I would absolutely entertain it. I have no interest in governor. Okay, I don't, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah, why? Yeah, why?
Yeah, I'll tell you why. I think, a governor is one state, and I'm going to be way more effective building a media company to influence the world with the philosophies I have than focusing on one state. Now, if I am a president, or if the president wants me to play a certain role that would bring out certain skills I can do, I would entertain it, but I'm not interested in being a governor.
Yeah.
At all.
Interesting.
Yeah, we've had that conversation many times here.
So
I don't have any interest.
Who's your pick, Ron DeSantis or Trump?
Listen, whoever wins the primary, it's who my pick is.
Yeah.
But okay, so if you have to vote on primary, who you choosing?
That's not the question, though. Let me explain to you why that's not the question. You know why? Because Trump right now has got a 40-point lead on him, according to CPAC.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay.
But who's your pick?
I think both of them are fighters. Both Trump and DeSantis are fighters. My only concern is the following. There's a part of me that wants the guy to get up and finish a second term.
Yeah.
Okay.
I see that.
So,
I see
so
that.
for me, I like 12 years instead of 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
So what do I mean by 12 years? If DeSantis goes 8 years, it's probably going to be somebody else on the flip side.
Sure.
But if Trump goes 4 years, for sure it's DeSantis next.
Right after, yeah.
So you can choose 8 or 12. I prefer 12.
Yeah.
I
Fair.
prefer 12 because I think to do what we want to do, you need more than 4 years.
Yes.
If you get, when's the last time we had 12 consecutive years of the same political party? You know when it was? Reagan Bush. The last time.
Yeah.
Reagan Bush, it was from 80 till 92, 12 years. And Reagan was his VP, right? So here it could be 4 and 8 years.
Yeah.
We go on a 12-year run.
We're in good shape.
Having a
We're
good
in good
time.
shape.
Yeah.
Good times
we're in good
ahead.
shape.
Yes.
If you were to list the top 5 issues in the U.S. right now, one being the most pressing in your opinion, what would they be?
So top 5, hero-making machine is number 1. We've been confused with who's a hero.
Okay.
Okay. What did Biden say? Transgender is the fabric of what America was found. Some words he
brave,
put together.
courageous,
What are
yeah.
you talking about, right? Again, that's a confusion of who the hero is. Whatever the president edifies, that's what the populace is going to want to be. Whatever the parent edifies, the other day a video was going viral on TikTok, and the son says, my mom, as long as I say I'm gay, that's what makes my mom happy. My mom just wants me to be part of the
They went
LGBTQ
on live, right?
community.
Yeah.
Yeah, they went live. And it's
Yeah.
like, what? I've never said that. Yeah, mom, your dream is for me to be gay, right?
Yeah.
So if the mom edifies gay being the hero, that's what the kid's going to do.
Yeah.
So if president edifies job creators, readers, entrepreneurs, those who protect the country, patriots, if the president edifies the right hero during that time, those heroes rise up.
Yeah.
Yes.
If we edify the wrong heroes rise up. So to me, number one problem we have is a hero-making machine.
Okay.
We're turning the wrong people into heroes, and people are confused.
Agreed.
What is a hero?
Yeah.
Should I be part of the rich and famous? Is it bad to be rich today? Is it bad to create wealth today? Is it bad? They're so confused right now.
Yeah.
We have to protect the borders. There's no question about it with the way China's coming in through, Mexico and the fentanyl issue that we're having too many kids going through drugs, and the nightlife scene right now. Nightlife scene right now is very weird with the kind of drugs that people are using. We got to protect that part. Military-wise, I think we have to. The battle's going to win on who's going to master and play the best defense in cyber, bio. I mean, that's the direction China is going. So where are our resources going? Naval ships, they're realizing through naval ships, the investments they're making, very, very strategic. The partnership, I would look at the mistake we made with China, and I know we're gradually moving our manufacturing over to India. I would make sure the way that Nixon set up the deal with China, the way you set up the deal with India, because we are going to go to India, but we cannot think just because we get along with Modi today that the way we set up with India, we're always going to get along with Modi. The next person could be Xi, and India could be China 2.0 in 20 years. So I would set up the negotiation with India in a different way than they did with China, and I would diversify a little bit of manufacturing where we're not relying 80% in one place.
Gave him too
all
much
of that.
power. Yeah,
You
gave him way too
can't
much
do
power.
that. You want us. You want to be proud. Like, people go work at a company and they say on their resume, I worked at Amazon. I worked at Microsoft. I worked at Google. That's a bragging right. I worked at Goldman Sachs, my resume. People brag about where they worked at, right? Okay, great. Hey, we do business with America. We do business. It's always been with America, right? Right now it's China. So I would also figure out a way to go have the kneecap to kneecap meetings with all these powerful people and, figure out a way to we're strengthening the enemies too much.
Yeah.
Everybody united with each other. China, Russia, Iran, Saudi, now they're all part of the same team.
Yeah.
Those are not 4 people you want to have part of the same team.
Yes.
So we got some work to do with foreign relations as well, but those would be.
I think you mentioned it too. When your competitor likes the president that you have, that's a red flag.
Yeah, just crazy.
Yeah,
I
of
mean,
course.
Like if people are happy Biden's in power, then there's a
Who is
problem.
the guy we were watching yesterday on the show?
David
Yeah,
Patton.
David
I
Patton,
love,
yeah.
I love that
Amazing episode. Great episode.
Thank
if
you
you
for
haven't
doing
watched
that
it, watch
episode.
that one. But I'm sure you have things to do.
Yeah,
I think I
appreciate
overheard
you.
you saying it's your dad's birthday, so we don't want to take any more time. And happy
He turned
birthday.
81 today.
Happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday.
So excited,
Happy
man.
birthday.
31 years old. Thank
Long
you.
life, beautiful.
One more question though.
We have a famous question here.
Go for it.
We are the MBH podcast, Money Buys Happiness.
Okay.
Do you, Patrick Bet-David, believe money buys happiness?
Man, I've been poor. I made a little bit of money, and I made real money. And I can tell you the amount of peace it gives me to make the decisions I make today. I can't describe you what opportunities it's brought to me. I remember 13 and a half years ago, I meet this man named Ron. He's from Kansas City. He sold his company. He did very well for himself. He was 70 years old at the time, 69, 70 years old at the time. And I'm trying to learn from his family and what he does. He says, you know, we got a family reunion trip coming up, and it's our 38th one. It's a 38th family, 38. Do you know how many people went on this one? I said, how many? Well, before I tell you how many, let me tell you how many went on my first one. Just my wife and I. But on this one, 64 people went on this one. And every year, I have one rule. I pay for the whole thing. You got to show up. He says, one of the things about money is I've been able to use money to keep my family close to each other for 38 years. 64 people went on a cruise together. You're bringing your girl. You're bringing your future girl. You're not bringing your kids. He's bringing his girlfriend. She's bringing her boyfriend. That person's bringing her husband. Your in-laws, boom, 6.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at that, you're like, what an incredible thing, right?
Yeah.
So the only thing with money is, man, if you're an asshole, you're just going to be a rich asshole.
Yeah.
But if you really have good intentions, you have a good heart, you have good things you want to do with your life, I want you to be as rich as possible because you're going to do better things for society.
Yeah.
But if you got bad, mojo and you've always been, a jerk and asshole to people, let's hope you don't get a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because you're going to hurt some people.
They say it just amplifies who you are.
That's exactly what it does. And that's true.
Yep.
Yep, it is true.
Patrick,
Appreciate
holy
you, man.
shit, man. Thank you so much for having us. Seriously, that's like, dude, we idolize you. So just to be in your space and sitting down with you, it means a lot.
You
So-
guys are exactly who I thought you were going to be. Two cool cats,
glad
man.
to
I
hear
really
that.
enjoy spending time with you guys.
Thank you.
Very excited about the growth you guys are having.
Of course.
Yes.
And like
Gotta
I
do
said
a round two
earlier,
one day.
I
Yes.
am not surprised you guys you're already growing, but you're going to blow up in ways
Appreciate
you've never
that.
seen before.
Appreciate that.
Thank you, Pat.
And guys, I don't have to say, I know you made it to the end of this one.
They did.
So you know what to do. If you're not subscribed, click that subscribe button, like, comment, let us know what you thought. Follow Patrick. We'll leave all his links in the bio, in the description. And Dean,